just have a soft opening, kind of, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I wanted to say something. What motherfucking 9 to 5 do you have that you love? Like, seriously, are you okay?
Very rare.
Did you do drugs before you came here tonight?
Nope.
So you have a fucking job.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me the job, and you're gonna make me jealous of the job.
Probably not, because I'm a nerd. So that's...
We enjoy nerds.
that's-
Okay,
that's
so
it.
what's the job?
I work for the government of British Columbia.
Oh, wow. Dun, dun, dun. Says nobody ever. I love my job with the government. Who is that? Who is it? What do you do?
I work for the MLA Susie Chant.
Oh, Susie. Shout out to Susie. I think I voted for her.
She's a good one.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
No, you
No,
didn't.
I didn't vote for her.
You don't live in
No,
her
I don't.
riding.
I don't vote. I don't vote. But I am voting. Are you NDP?
Yeah.
Oh, I am voting NDP. My girlfriend made a sizable contribution to your party.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes, she's very pro orange.
Have you never voted?
Never voted.
Interesting.
Wow.
Never once.
Have you always been a voter?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to extremes. You doesn't really care for you, but
No,
I broke
I
up with a
care.
girlfriend because she didn't vote once.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty fanatical about this
Oh,
stuff.
that's
so,
intense.
Do you know why I don't vote?
Huh?
You know why I don't vote?
Because you feel your vote doesn't matter.
No, it's too deep.
You hate all the parties.
I'm more shallow than that.
You're lazy.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
There's top 3 reasons. Those are the top 3.
I'm always so
Yeah.
busy that voting time is so inconvenient.
But they give you like an hour. Oh, you don't have a 9 to 5 that requires you to leave.
You know what? I look at it as this. I will 150% this election vote for Jagmeet Singh. 150,000%. I will vote for the first time because we need change. Mr. wearing red over here across the table from us, sitting with our gentleman in yellow or in orange.
Nothing to do with Canada.
I know it doesn't, but I'm just saying we need to get red
He's
people
just a blood.
the hell out of this. For this, honestly, for the sake of this generation that's growing up, they need to have true diversity in office. We need to have a true different. We need to have a different voice, a different belief system in Parliament. We either need to put Indigenous leader in there, or we need to have Jagmeet. It's how it is, and it has nothing to do with politics. Has nothing to do with, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with, the points that they argue. What are those called? The
platforms.
Platforms, right? It has nothing to do with that. See, I don't even vote on that. What I vote is the conscious. Is the conscious,
Right.
the conscious change that has to happen in our society. To be truly a species that evolves, continues to evolve, we need to take these steps and measures, and we need to put the right people into place. And when I say people, I mean, let's face it, dude, figureheads. We need better leaders. We need other people to be leaders.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, I respect part of that because I mean the leaders are often just figureheads. They often have very little actual power from what
That's what they are.
I'm starting to understand, and so
Yeah.
it's like Jagmeet, he's a great person. He's a genuine person.
Yeah.
How it like if he became Prime Minister of Canada, how in charge would he actually be?
Yeah.
Probably not as much as we'd give him credit for.
Yeah.
So
I
That's
don't
so
know though.
frustrating.
I don't know though. Here's the one reason why. I think that now that Canada's been put in check over this Indigenous one, and we're about to get it a little bit harder. It's gonna keep hard. This, folks, is equivalent to making love in prison. Now, when you first make love in prison to your person that comes into your cell and has the other guy keep 6 on the outside while he comes in your cell and strips off his wife beater tank top, saying, "How's little honey doing today?"
Ooh.
Before you make sweet, passionate love in a jail cell, it always starts off nice, right? And then it starts getting more aggressive as you start getting familiar, and bonds are created, and self-esteem is lowered, and all these other things happen. You start to get familiar with each other, and then it becomes prison sex. It goes from lovemaking to prison sex, and that's what's about to happen to our Canadian government, dude. And the only way that it's not going to be, violent, counseling and all that stuff afterwards, is if we put someone of color into power.
Now, this is completely inappropriate, but
Yes.
during your stay,
Yeah.
would you have been the giver?
Leave that up to the viewers to decide.
That's still to be debated. That's still to be debated. Well, and for no other reason, because we got to look at the environment of the prison. You got to look like how far you willing to go. You know what I mean? Like how, what's the numbers?
Yeah.
Do I have any friends, any Canadian flag tattoos on you? No, nobody. Okay. Right. Like you got to weigh all these factors out. But here's my advice to anybody who feels like they're going to go into prison and they're going to have a crazy situation.
Oh, let's hope not.
If you feel like it's going to happen, it probably is.
Oh, no.
And the best thing you can do, there's two things you can do. One, attack a guard. Because then everybody will think you're crazy and super tough. Like, oh my God, that guy is crazy. Don't mess with him, right? So when you come back, just give him googly eyes, you know what I mean? And you're good. Or two, go and victimize somebody in your range. No, it's true though. Because then they're like, oh, he's got personal beef with that guy. Okay, well, we're going to figure it out, right? But your best bet is you go to the guy and go, hey, buddy, we got to stick together. How about I pretend you're like, we got a beef and we'll battle it out so then they leave us alone. And that's how it goes. It's true. It's psychology.
Only on High Phrase Podcast do we start with prison rape.
I was going to say, I mean, I've heard a lot of analogies in my work in politics.
Yes.
That is by far the most out there analogy. I love it.
We are about to prison sex our government. It is about to happen with with all the indigenous findings, all the ones we're about to get, and all the warrants and the search warrants that are going to happen on indigenous and crown land. And the fact that now people are starting to learn that the Liberal government has, what is it called when you appeal? It appealed the decision to give the indigenous people all that money and the 2 million. They appealed it to the Supreme Court. People don't know this.
Yeah, no, that's true. Especially when you consider how much money they're given to like banks and then pipelines and all that.
Unbelievable. They appeal it.
A fraction of that money.
It's disgusting. And that's why prison rape's about to happen.
ACDJ, Eli Mallin in the place, Alite.
Susie's going to be choked. If Susie watches this, she's going to be like, who are your friends? Do they vote for us?
This is not reflective of the NDP policy or values. And,
Yes.
We'll make sure we put that in the comments.
We'll put that on there.
I do not, I'm not acting as a representative.
No.
Of
Thank you, brother, for coming
time.
in for our craziness.
Okay, so now I think the only step forward for any kind of restitution or justice for Indigenous people, Canada needs to be tried in the World Court,
Yeah, big time.
the International Criminal Court.
Oh, yeah. You don't think this.
I think it can be resolved domestically. I don't have a lot of faith in international court systems. I mean, I think they lack the teeth, first of all, because the United States will not recognize them. And I think, if you have one of the biggest world superpowers not recognizing them, and I don't think China or Russia does either. No. So,
Are you talking about the hog? Whatever?
The
Hag?
Well, I think we have this really shitty, I don't want to say shitty, international view of Canada is the nice guy, the champion of the environment and polite and kind and all these different things. I think at least if there's some symbolic gesture that says that Canada committed war crimes against Indigenous people, at least internationally, it would be a little bit more recognized.
So, one thing that Justin Trudeau did do well is he admitted genocide. So you technically don't need to go to international court anymore because it's the leader of the country admitting to genocide that occurred in the country. So that kind of automatically, I don't know the proper word for it, but enrolls Canada in a bunch of actions that you have to do for restitution, similar to other countries that have been convicted or admitted to genocide.
What would that look like?
What's that called? Paying back reparations to the victims and their families. Taking actions to promote the culture that you tried to destroy. And I think in Canada's case, you had a lot of stolen land as well. So that would probably, incorporate some land back. Big one, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, UNDRIP. Yeah. That needs to happen. And it has happened in BC, but, we need it across Canada. So
who's the biggest culprit of the provinces?
The biggest culprit of the provinces in terms of doing what?
In terms of just
being an asshat?
Yeah, just being an asshat. Which province do you think we're going back to? Is BC pretty bad?
No, BC,
it seems
here's
bad
the thing
out here.
though. BC, God, okay, I'm sorry, Susie, but like BC,
We'll edit it out.
BC, no,
Okay,
keep it
we'll
in.
keep it in,
BC
Susie.
is not great. We're
Yeah.
we're building coastal gas link pipelines. We're cutting down old growth forest.
Yep.
There's fossil fuel subsidies to the
Yeah.
tune of few $100 million.
Oh,
So those are some disgusting things, but we're still the most progressive in Canada.
It seems
Like,
like
you have to
it's-
consider this, like Clean BC, the climate plan, which all of this is going on, like the coastal gas link,
Yeah.
the fossil fuel subsidies. That's all part of BC's Clean BC.
Mm-hmm.
It is still the most aggressive climate plan in Canada,
Wow.
which is really saying something about
bonkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like you have to consider how shit the other provinces are, and like
Yeah.
Alberta's probably the worst for it.
For sure.
Because
for sure.
Kenny, puts like 10% of his budget into just promoting fossil fuels. It's not even like
Unbelievable.
supporting jobs. It's like advertisements saying oil and gas is good, guys. Like,
Well, and it's looking like the entire tar sands is irreparable, right?
oh, completely.
There's no way they're gonna
No, it's,
Like
it's,
to what? What do you
it's-
mean irreparable? Like to do anything?
irreparable to
Oh.
make it like
Anything else?
livable again.
Yeah.
No, it'll never be
Because they have those tailing ponds that are just like sludge and
no.
So after they drain it dry, what happens with it? That's still probably 50 some odd years probably from now still, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? So we still probably got a good 50, maybe
gotta-
70 years.
You got to fill it with sand and then wait another 100 years after
wait,
And
that.
it's
wait.
solidified.
You think they're gonna be able to continue to extract out of Alberta for the next 50 years?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, the government of Canada, as it stands right
Yeah.
now, I think has a plan to extract from Alberta for at least 20 more years.
Oh,
least.
fuck.
At least, man. At least. You can't.
I mean, yeah, the idea is that would be our entire oil and gas production, which, okay, yeah, the environment there is already destroyed, so that's fair. Like, oh, we're not destroying anything new, but
Just
it's
gonna
still,
suck it dry.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it going to take, man? Like what is it going to take for people to look at the earth and the extraction of resources and actually look at it the way you would look at a human body when you take plasma out of it, you take a body part out of it. That's kind of what we're doing.
I'm gonna sound really cynical in saying this, but I think that moment has come, and we've done nothing about it.
Yeah. I
Like,
think so too.
the election in 2019, the one that Liberals still won in 2019,
Garbage.
there was a climate march across Canada literally a month before the election. In Vancouver, we saw 500,000 people
Yeah, it was
marching.
wild.
Montreal,
I remember that.
2 million people marching in Montreal.
Wild.
Like that, these are numbers that would flip ridings. These are numbers that would change the entire government of Canada.
Should be transformative.
And the Liberals still won. And where all these climate marches were happening, quite often were in areas like Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa. These are areas that the Liberals win, and they did win. It's just like,
It's really sucky because it's just small amounts, right? But they get big pockets of people, like pockets of people.
yeah,
right?
if you consider those numbers, if even half of those people who showed up to march voted for someone other than the Liberals, we would have seen more seats flip.
Yeah.
And we just didn't.
And I think this might be part of the problem. So we were talking earlier about voting and our lack of participation or participation. And I think one of the issues for me growing up for a while was you said that one of the main excuses is that my vote doesn't matter. And I think one of the reasons people feel that way is because they don't understand what their vote does, specifically to their individual vote.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to sound cynical saying this, but with our current voting system,
Yeah.
statistically speaking, your vote doesn't matter. The Prime Minister of Canada can have absolute power elected with 34% of the vote
How is that possible?
because of the way our riding system works. A first past the post is not proportional. So your one vote does not equal like one vote for that party. It's
Wow.
whoever, like, okay, so, we're in Port Coquitlam right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So like whoever wins the most votes in Port Coquitlam
Right.
wins Port Coquitlam. They don't even need to win the majority because there's 4 or 5 parties trying.
Right.
They just need to win more than the others. And
Okay, so you, well-intentioned voters,
Yeah.
go to the voting booth, put the little mark on the ballot.
yeah,
They're voting for that individual, for their specific community.
Yeah.
And then that community wins, let's say they win NDP.
yeah,
The next community over, let's say, wins conservative. Next community over wins liberal. When you take all those communities together, and now you're figuring out who's going to be the provincial representative. Is it a combination of
All those
however many
communities
ridings
together,
won, and then the prime minister is not elected the same way
nope, the Prime Minister is as well.
based on
Same thing federally. Yeah,
so across all of the provinces,
all the communities. Yeah, yeah.
So there really isn't any representation
Well, the idea is ideally to bring local representation. That's the idea. Like, okay, think Port Coquitlam is right now conservative. It's close though. It's a three-way race between the Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP. So the idea is, the conservative person who's elected here is meant to truly represent the riding. But in the end, their loyalties are to their party leader. Their loyalties are not to their riding. Oh, wow. So it gets rid of the whole purpose. And then also Port Coquitlam being like a three-way race between the big three parties. Say you wanted to vote Green,
Yeah.
your vote will not matter
Useless.
because it's going to go to one of the other three. So there's this incentive to strategically vote. In other words, vote for the person you hate the least.
Yeah.
And the Liberals
Seems
campaign
it
on that
becomes
a
that
lot.
Yeah.
So in the last election, the reason they won, even though hugely unpopular, Trudeau had just done, all these blackface pictures came out. There's the
Jackass.
climate march. The Liberals campaigned on this big strategy of, okay, but if you don't vote for us, the Conservatives win, and you don't want that.
Yeah. Oh,
And
gross.
so people are like, oh, I don't want the Conservatives because, at least the Liberals aren't homophobic kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I always feel with Trudeau that it was just a matter of like, it's the perfect storm with him.
Yeah.
Like he's this young enough but old enough guy, enough experience in life, but he's young to connect with the younger crowd, which he did because he was a teacher. You know what I mean? So he automatically had that teacher vibe to him. He was likable by the young people. It inspired them to vote at the time, right? And then, he had the boxer thing, so he understands with the
whack at
competition. And he understands also
terrible.
about putting on different masks.
yeah,
No
Right?
doubt.
He's really good at wearing different masks all the time. He's very comfortable with different looks.
And with face paint.
Right.
I see nothing but disingenuous when I look at Justin Trudeau. I see nothing that's real. I feel like he was built for this.
Yeah.
He's pretty enough. He's well spoken enough. He's checks off all the boxes. Speaks fluent French. He's the fucking
But this is
perfect
more
Canadian
why it's so
candidate.
important, Arif, that if Jagmeet gets into power, that he surrounds himself with people that keep him grounded. Because there's nothing worse than to see someone great fall in the public eye. And I'm not saying that would happen. All I'm saying is that the pressure of politics, it's been happening for 100 years, right? Nobody's impervious to any of the pressure that comes with being a leader.
Yeah.
It's for a country.
also being a leader, I mean, you need a pretty big ego.
You do
you need the
it.
confidence, but often that confidence will become ego with time.
Yeah.
And you want to, the idea that a perfect leader has that confidence, but doesn't let it become ego. And that's the fears. Once it becomes ego, then you've lost.
Is there one out there that you see that you look at like that guy's a fucking G? He's a good leader.
Well, I mean, like Jagmeet, the first time I ever met him, I went in for a handshake, he went in for a hug.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I like this guy.
Immediate difference.
Like this is.
He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's feeling
Yeah.
up. He's like, I could take him. That's exactly.
He's a bad
hugs you.
motherfucker, man. I've seen him in the on the
Guaranteed.
mats.
That's what it is. He hugs you. I got you.
Yeah,
I
he
can
got
take
you.
you. Or he's like, oh, I can't take you. Right?
Yeah.
So let's say we are fortunate enough to have Jagmeet elected and representing
We do.
the province, right?
Or the country.
Of the country. How do you put pressure on him to make the decisions matter?
So, I mean,
It's hard.
there's a lot of ways that you could do that. I think if and when the NDP get elected, it'll be their first time ever in Canada's
Like
entire
that,
history.
if and when. I like
Yeah.
that.
It would be the first
Amazing.
time. So they have to, I would say, there's a great benefit to that. They have to be the best party they can possibly be. You have to consider, you elect Greens or NDP who have never held power ever nationally.
Yeah.
They're going to be the best government they can be because they have to leave a positive impression because they're like, oh my God, we only got one shot
wanna
here.
repeat. Of
We
course.
screw this up.
Yeah.
It's going back to the Liberals and Conservatives and we'll never get a chance again. So I think the first time around, you get a Green or NDP in charge, you're going to have a perfect
You're
government.
going to nail it.
You're going to just everything you want done, they're going to do, and they're going to work hard. They're going to work around the clock to
Yeah.
get things done. After that, then they might start to deteriorate, in which case, it's a matter of just basic public pressure campaigns, petitions, protests, emails, calling your
It's
representative.
really tough, man.
Because we don't really have like a lobby system the way the U.S. has.
It's not as effective, but
Not
we
as-
do have one. But
okay.
it's not as organized. It's not the billion-dollar industry it is in the States.
Are there financial limits?
Yes. Yeah, you can only individuals can only donate $1,200.
And corporations
Corporations can't donate.
at all?
Yeah,
No.
not at all.
That's actually thanks to Stephen Harper.
Yeah.
He was.
But isn't there like a period before you call the election where you can spend a whole bunch of money? That's right now or something, right? Like,
Yep.
I remember there's a rule where it's before the election, months before it's called, you have this big thing that is allowed to start pushing the party message out there.
Yes,
So
you do have a window there.
See,
And-
that's what I mean about politics.
Well, it's
See,
interesting
this
that
is
you
the
don't
thing.
vote, but you know a lot.
I know a lot about politics because I wait, because the thing is, dude, I've always lived with this thought that, you know, you can talk politics and everything, but do something. If you really want to talk politics, get out there and do something. Go and vote.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. So I never, when we talk politics and stuff, I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, I go from the human aspect side usually, but this is going to be my first year that I ever vote.
Yeah.
Right. And and I really believe it's going to happen. I believe it with every, if I didn't believe it, I would not be voting, and my girl will vote the same.
I've always voted, and I've always voted because it is a right that I don't want ever taken away.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be exercised. Even if you, I mean, I hate saying it, even if you do it frivolously, you still have to exercise the vote and go and actually make sure that your name is shown in the 36 some odd million people that are across this country, right?
Now, I have only voted once locally.
Oh, you voted locally though. Hey, that's the
Never,
one. Of
never election, but I voted for local riding. I was in Wilkinson Road Prison. Shout out to all you assholes up there that saw me naked about 1,000 times. Told me to bend over.
Yikes. Spread them. Shit.
There was a guy who was running Hillside for the Liberals back in the day, and he paid off everybody in the prison to vote for him.
Fuck. That's so dirty.
And I hope this doesn't get out, because then it would start an investigation and it would suck.
They
But his
should.
brother's dead anyway. His brother was the guy that started it, right? And he paid us CDs from CD the Month Club. So he was running a scam inside the prison, getting those CDs for a penny. Remember that deal?
Yeah, Columbia.
So he had a way, blah, blah, blah,
Columbia
bada boom,
Records.
bada bing. He's getting CDs. Right, good CDs for you, good CDs for you. So you just order whatever CD and then go and vote
fantastic.
for his brother. And his brother got in.
Shit. So dirty.
It was dirty. That was back in the day when people were going to the kitchen to vote.
It's like a little mafia hustle.
In the provincial prisons, right? So it just always comes back to the Liberals and, you know, the two parties battling it out,
Yep.
right? Both of them dirtier than the other one,
So gross.
you know, and it feels like it's time. We're in a changing world that we need a better party, a party that has never gotten a chance to step up and do something.
Is there a possibility that we can have governance without political parties? Without the
Like
structure
tribunals?
of a political... tribunals, councils.
I mean, the whole purpose of the Canadian system as it stands right now was to promote that, but the party system just is too easy in a sense. It's like
Right.
It's ingrained in us.
like the whole purpose of our first past the post system right now was, again, the local representation.
Say that
Bring
again,
it
past the post?
first past the post.
What does that mean?
It just means you win your community. You don't. So if Justin Trudeau is running to be prime minister, he doesn't actually need to win across Canada.
Yeah.
He just needs to win enough communities.
Right, okay.
And so it's not proportional, but the idea is the local representation really matters. But like the purpose of that was, I think, when it first started, you know, centuries ago, was to create strong local representation. You know, you're connected with your leader.
Right.
But the party system is just easier because a lot of people, they don't, you know, and this is not a knock against people in general. It's, you know, you don't have time to follow politics.
Yeah.
You don't have time to always
Yeah.
read the news and,
No.
and see
Give a
what's
shit.
happening.
Yeah.
So you just know what your party stands for, and you're like, okay, this is my party. I will
Yeah.
just vote for the guy that belongs here. You don't know who he is. You've never
Yeah.
met him
Yeah.
before.
What's the percentage of people that do that, do you think?
I'd say a majority. I don't know the percentage, but I would say
People
it's,
are loyal to red, loyal to
yeah,
blue.
I'd say it's in the majority. It's the
It's human
individual doesn't
psychology,
matter.
right?
Yeah.
We look for winning sides, or
Yep.
you know, what we think is the winning side.
And they do it for life.
Yep.
People don't leave their political party for their entire existence on this planet.
So does that mean that people in the past who have never voted NDP into power or Green Party into power, what does that say about their personality?
They have more hope, I guess.
They're
Like
the hopers and the
yeah,
dreamers,
but
right?
especially like I'd say especially the Green Party, you know. And I mean I'm an NDPer, but like
Yeah.
the Green Party supporters, you have to respect them because
Yeah.
the Green Party, I mean honestly, snowball's chance in hell at forming government. They have 2 seats
Yeah.
out of 338. You know,
Yeah.
they need to get 170. And the Green Party voters, they still go, and it's like 6% of all voters vote for Greens. That's the average. It's like 6%. Those 6%, you know, that's a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Well, because the Green Party they're proposing radical goals.
Yeah.
And I fucking want radical change. I don't want to see shit take 50 years to change before something
You don't want the
happens.
incrementalism, yeah.
It's unnecessary because there's enough momentum and there's enough intelligent people that think about what needs to be done and just do it.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier about how the elected official at the end of the day doesn't have a lot of power. And is that just because of how bloated government is as far as the structure that's created?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to play into like the libertarian small government narrative, but I mean the amount
we
of
like that here.
well, it's true though. Like the amount of bureaucracy in government, like like that's where I work right now. I work in the bureaucracy. It's
what is your role?
I'm the assistant to Susie Chan, so I'm just her full-time assistant. I'm,
You're in the mix of everything.
I looked her up. She seems pretty down to earth, kind of.
She is. Like, yeah. Oh, she's.
That's dedicated to the cause.
That's why she's pretty popular, because like, she's human. She's never been a politician. She's 60 years old and
that's awesome.
Was a nurse her whole life.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
So it's like,
yeah, that's awesome. Good for her.
Yeah, we need those people in those roles.
Yeah, but like, I mean, in the end, like, I'm reading all her emails. And then I filter the ones that are important for her. I'm like, okay, this one is one you should. And it's like, if I had bad intentions, which I know a few people in my position who do, I could really direct what she sees and really like control her conversation.
Totally.
Like a puppet master.
Yeah, and I do know people who are like that. It's the thing. It's just like,
But is that the dirty industry though? That is politics. Like, everybody's out for themselves, really, in a weird way.
Yeah.
Even though working in a team for a cause, you're always out for yourself because there's either a ladder ring to climb up or there's an elected position to take, right?
Oh yeah.
It's really a true introvert position, being a leader. You know what I mean? And being alone and controlling. Reflective. Yeah, like people would say narcissist. I'd be like, no, the introverted people, like people who are able to think alone and make good decisions and, decide, right? Those make the good leaders, it seems. Loud talking Donald Trump types or the...
Well, Malcolm X was big.
Yeah, but he was a thinker too. He was an introvert. For sure.
He
was an introvert that had
thinker.
Bursts of power. Yeah. But he was an introvert, man.
Is this your educational background as well, politics?
Yep, I studied politics in university. Yeah, poli-sci.
Oh, wow.
And you actually got a job.
I actually got a job in this field. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's why I love my job.
Yeah.
I love my 9 to 5.
Because this was the goal.
This was the goal. Well, I'm thinking of going to law school.
Oh. So you're a
nice.
proponent of school. You believe school is do it. Like it'll get you somewhere. After experiencing school, do you still have that belief?
I don't think I actually even needed my degree to get my job.
Jeez. But it gives you
so do you regret going to school then?
No, I don't regret it because I learned a lot and it really helped me.
It solidified you in what you do.
Yeah, well, actually, it did almost the opposite. It broadened my horizons. It helped me keep an open mind because for me, university always challenged me and changed my mind about things. And when you change your mind enough, some people say, "Oh, that makes you wishy-washy, flippy-floppy kind of thing." No, it keeps me open-minded. I like someone comes to me with some new idea, and sometimes they're not too great at explaining it, but I still try to be there and listen because I'm like, hey, you never know. Like the root of this could be something absolutely life-changing.
That's important.
Where'd you go to school?
SFU.
Oh, you went to SFU, eh? Yeah. Right up there on the hill.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's
great
a nice
campus.
school, man.
Well, you said you wanted to go into law?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just did my LSAT, so...
Shit.
Yeah. What kind of law?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Do you want to sue people or do you want to save people?
No, I don't want to sue people.
So you want to save people?
Yeah. Civil rights.
It's
Civil
one
rights.
of the two. You're either suing them or you're saving them.
I was thinking treaty law.
Oh, wow.
I was thinking, especially with the law of indigenous issues coming to the surface, treaty law is going to be a
powerful.
Big thing.
Yeah.
And you need people whose heart's in the right place when doing that.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So
yeah, it's so interesting because we have your background is Guyanese, you said, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Indians here, and most of the islands are pretty much remnants of colonization, British colonization.
Yeah.
Indian people being put all over the world.
Yep.
And we're very privileged immigrants in this country. My parents came here back in the mid 70s, built a great life for themselves, own a home, debt free. They kind of have the dream. And it's so weird having these conversations with my parents about Indigenous peoples and their rights, my parents don't get it. They don't get it.
Yeah.
And I try to explain it to them in the same way that, you know, what happened to their ancestors, but because they came from India to Fiji to Canada, they don't have a connection to the motherland.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to make this group of immigrants relate and feel empathy with the Indigenous struggle here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there might be a generation. I'm not, I guess, exposed as much to that generation. My mom, she definitely didn't come from privilege when she moved here. She struggled a lot. But my parents their big break was my mom had a restaurant and she was a great cook.
Oh, wow.
Made some money there. But that's about it. So I haven't actually been exposed to that.
It's weird. I've always thought that when you move to another country, you have to accept the fact that you're killing your family name tradition. Everything about your family and what's been there for hundreds of years before you come to North America, you're killing that. That will not exist.
But our people we don't even have that. Like,
no, it's because it dies.
Like when my parents came here, they were really young. They were broke, but they built this life for themselves. They were able to build a life for themselves.
Yeah.
And we've had a few different people on here that talk about what it's going to take to kind of reverse the damage that's been done. You're never going to be able to reverse it. But what you want to do is give people control over their own lives and be able to build lives and futures for themselves. And I hear land back a lot. What does land back look like?
Restoring the lands that the Indigenous peoples had before settlers came. And now it's not, you know, Indigenous people didn't settle all across Canada. There's still land for everyone.
Of course.
But there is so much land in Canada. Like it's hard to fathom how big Canada is. And there's a lot of land that should rightfully belong. You know, maybe it has some sort of special meaning. You know, it's sacred in some way. I know I'm thinking of one island just off North Van in Deep Cove. I can't remember what it's called. For some reason, I'm thinking Raccoon Island. It's not called that. It's
Turtle Island?
No.
Oh.
But it was a small little community and a burial site, and it's now it's now privately owned.
Privately owned, eh?
And someone has their
Government.
island cottage on it.
Fuck.
And you know they have their
course.
private dock that they boat back and forth, and
So fucking slimy.
Witness protection.
yeah, and so the Tsleil-Waututh Nation won it back.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And they're not petitioning. They're not actually petitioning the government. I got to meet with them with Susie when we went to Tsleil-Waututh, and they're not asking the government to give them that land back. They're just waiting for it to go up for sale, and they're saving the money to buy it back.
Brutal.
It's
What does the
incredible.
government need with it? Just give it back.
Well, it's privately owned, so the government could buy it, I guess.
Yeah. But they're not going to do that.
Yeah. But it's like, it's just things like that. Like, they're saving up. It's going to cost them millions of dollars that could otherwise go into supporting their community. And so I think what land back would be, in some regards, is, you know, Tsleil-Waututh isn't asking for this island. They're saying, we're going to buy it when it goes for sale.
Yeah.
Well, this is a scary
But why don't we
conversation.
just go and get this island for them and give it back, you know?
Yeah.
Go to the owner, be like, hey, look, this island has, you know, a lot of meaning to the local First Nations here. How much for it? We want to give it back. You know, just meaningful action like that. And this isn't a big island. It's, you know, it's less than an acre, or maybe it's about 1 acre.
Oh, wow.
So it's not huge.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, hundreds of people are losing their homes. It's one person,
That's got
and
way
they
too
don't
much
even,
money.
and they don't even live there full time.
That's
so it's
gross.
like, you know,
Yeah, I think this is a really scary conversation for a lot of people. There's a lot of Trump's undercurrents scattered throughout Canada. And I think we were able to see that last summer during the Black Lives Matter protests, or sorry, not last summer, the summer before that, 2019, with the Black Lives Matter protest. And it's very hard conversation to get this kind of like seam of hatred that people have inside them to understand that you're not turning the entire country over. We're not going to give up your malls or your schools. That's not the plan. How do you convince people that this is not the idea? Because I think one problem with white supremacy across North America is that it was very destructive and abusive, and it created detrimental harm for generations. And I think that thinking is what prevents people from thinking that POC should be in power, because they're thinking that we're going to treat them the way they treated us, right? It's a whole revenge that we're going to be subjugated, we're going to be in chains, all this bullshit that, you know, people have in their brains.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, I think first we got to give internet to the entire country of Canada, and we got to make sure that everybody has water. Number one, that's the best sign of respect you can get.
the basic necessities.
There's gas stations, there's water, and there's power, and there's internet.
Yep.
For one, that's it. And then you've connected. Now you said we welcome you.
And then I would say after that, and I mean, this is something that I think we as people of color have to recognize, is I would say it's less hate. There's not actually as much hate as we
that's good.
tend to say. There's a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. And the fear will manifest as hate sometimes because it doesn't know how to manifest. Right. You know, fear is very unpredictable. And so it's addressing a lot of misinformation. Like you're saying, you know, we're not trying to chain people up and oppress anyone. It's just, you know, being truly equal in society. And what does that actually mean? And focusing on the message of equality. And at this point, you know, a lot of people say, well, you have, you know, anyone can do anything in Canada. Mm-hmm. It's a free country. That's the whole point. Right. But when you at this historic disadvantage and overcoming those disadvantages of past generations, you know, we didn't get to inherit land from 200 years ago that our ancestors killed a bunch of native people for, you know. Mm-hmm. That's not something that a lot of people have the privilege of. Yeah. And so it's rectifying that. So there is some cases in which people will be worse off than they were, but those are people that have benefited from, you know, the original colonial genocide this country was founded on.
And that wasn't even any of our ancestors. Our family didn't come from here, you know. So here we are, three guys who really have no skin in the game. All we have is compassion for these people, right? And using our voices or whatever to make a difference, right? But in a weird way, we get roped in because we're Canadian, you know. And then that's another thing for people to think about, like, how do you feel if you're not from this country and now you come here and this starts to be exposed? You come here and thinking Canada is the best place on earth. Because remember growing up, Canada was number one in the world.
I was born here. That's all we were taught.
Yeah. Remember that? Growing up. Oh, when we were in the war, Canada didn't have guns. They had first aid kits. Yeah. And water bottles and, you know, gum, you know, cigars. You know, that was Canada's thing, right?
Yeah, I can't identify myself. I've tried to make it a point to not identify myself as Canadian because the country itself is, like, you know, built off genocide, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of we have to accurately address our past.
That's,
you know, we have to.
Everyone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, like
Canada's been sitting up here. What?
I do feel kind of lucky because towards the end of my high school education, I'm young enough. Sorry, guys, but I'm young enough. Yeah,
we're old.
You know, just a little bit older than me. But we started to get taught some of these stuff just before I was graduating. You know, we saw, like, why did Canada kind of end its peacekeeper role in the world? Because our peacekeepers raped a bunch of people in Serbia or Kosovo, you know, and Somalia. So it's like you start to learn these things, and it kind of starts to undo your
patriotism.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a time where we're going to be living in this country and it's not going to be people calling themselves Canadians?
That's a tough one.
Because
I could, if the leadership in Canada does things the right way, I could see us truly being proud of being Canadian because we addressed our past and we actually gave proper reparations and we addressed the genocide and made amends for it as a country, and that would be something we could be proud of, you know.
Yeah,
we are a country that overcame colonialism, and we are a country that is, you know, truly inclusive for all, and where no one feels like there's historic transgressions that have not been made amends for, you know.
That's big.
Dude, there needs to be a politician. There needs to be a party called the Dark Party. And just some guy comes out and he's like, "Come together." And he forces people to hang out together. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, "I will make you hang out." And they, "Yes, we will follow you." And they hang out and they have fun. Right? And they're like, "Ah!" And this guy just sits up there, "I am making this up." Right? And it's like, that's the new party.
You're going to have a political party.
What's that?
I think you're going to have a political party.
I think, but with not exaggerating, it almost seems like that's like a direction
Why is
that
that?
you
Why
can't
is that
go.
leader? Why is that individual leader so important? There's so many
No,
components.
I was just about to say, like, we don't even need a party. We just need a good concert with,
You need,
you know,
you need a good. You
we
need
need
like
some
a
MCs together. You know,
Yes!
Yeah.
It's big. It's big.
Yeah.
But why do we need a designated leader? Like we were saying earlier, there's so many components to empower this individual to be able to make decisions. But at the end of the day, they're not really making the decisions. They're negotiating a piece of a decision based on what everybody is saying.
Yes.
Now, you make people really ineffective when you do this because now you have to cater to all of these different beliefs, but those beliefs are not what the people's beliefs are, right? The people have very specific demands. People want to do well. Governments haven't shown proven at all over the past 30, 40 years. Middle class decimated, tons of poor, addiction problems out of control, mental health issues are out of control. There's no plan to fix it. There's no way for the government to say, well, yeah, you guys paid taxes, but we did our part. They didn't do their fucking part. And the thing that blows my mind is a lot of these people get paid six figures.
Oh, they all
That's
get paid
a
six
lot
figures.
of motherfucking money, man.
Yeah.
What other job can you think of where you can get hired by people, do a terrible fucking job, and never get fired?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucked up. Like you get what 2 years, 4 years before
4
you
years.
and then you get a full-time pension for the rest of your life.
No, well, 6 years before pension. 4 years is every term. You're elected and you serve for 4 years, and then you have to face re-election.
6 fucking years.
Yeah.
And you get a fat ass pension.
It's
for
a
the rest of
fat
your
pension,
life.
and let me mention, if you lose the election, say before that 6 years or after, you still get a severance pay of over 100,000.
wow.
Yeah,
Fuck.
so you get paid to lose an election.
Just enough to invest in a dispensary
Bitch.
in your local neighborhood.
Christy
Yep.
Clark.
See, well, that seems like what every politician does now. Like, oh, I'm out of politics.
dirty.
I'm going to invest in a little bit of smoke, right? They're going to
So
expose their
gross.
smokers. Seems to be the way that goes, man. These politicians, that's the next level. Right?
She fucking fracked the province.
Yeah.
Took her money and bounced, vanished off the
She was
face
one
of
of
the
those
earth.
ones. She was one of those ones that started off nice and got jaded
See
through
that,
the
see through that
process.
mother man.
So you don't have to say anything. This is us. Just
Yeah,
us
no,
talking.
no,
We're
I know.
leaving you out of it. For a
Don't
reason.
worry. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's never good to talk smack, right?
Well,
About-
it's such a weird time because
But we
like,
can do it.
dude, across the world, man, like Cuba's having an uprising,
Yeah.
South Africa's having an uprising, Russia's
Haiti.
having fucking an
What
uprising.
happened in Haiti? And
Insane, yeah. Haiti, the president gets assassinated.
Yeah.
It's just all over the world, man.
yeah.
Kind of scary.
Well, I think a lot of it is because the internet is now reaching other countries, right?
I was gonna say, and that's amplifying it to us as well. Like I would say, most of these big protests are not maybe quite as big as they could be, or as the media makes it out to
Yeah.
be. Like these protests have happened since the beginning of time, and
For sure.
you know, you study a little bit of just even European or North American or South, like any continent's history. You know, throughout the 80s, 90s, 2000s, there's been big protests.
Oh, it's been bloody.
But it's just they're finally getting media attention because media is now able to be worldwide.
Yeah.
So you know, 50 years ago we wouldn't know about what's going on in Cuba or what's going on in South Africa.
Facts. Yeah, unless you're a student of what's happening,
Exactly.
you actively look for the information.
But the average person would not have that information.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's important too because, like, you know, all of our struggles are identifiable worldwide. We're all connected in some way. And it's so funny how we talked about this before, but like, you know, when we were talking about earlier, we were asking Eli about his nationality, and we fucking used the word race. We used the fucking word
Who did?
race. Earlier when we were talking to Eli about his nationality. So what's your race and what's your background, your ethnic background?
Yeah.
But why the fuck do we use that word?
It's because it's our generation. This next generation will use it less, and then the next one won't say it at all.
Well, also as we get more interracial kids, it won't
Yeah,
matter
it won't
as
matter.
much. You know, like I'm mixed. Like, and the more of me there are, the less it's going to matter. Because like I see someone and I don't care. I'm not going to
Yeah.
ask. You know, I'll maybe ask if they're religious or if they're practicing religion, so I can be aware of. You know, say they're Muslim. You know,
have some
don't
context.
have some pork in front of them or
Yeah,
whatever. Things like that.
Yeah.
I think also in the future, it's going to be like what happens in most races. The lighter skinned people are going to be favored over darker skinned people.
that. It's
But
always
it's going to
been
be
that
on a
way.
it's going to be on a world stage.
It
don't
already
think
is.
so.
It already is.
I think that's fading. I think that's fading.
Dude, that white supremacy has been
No.
perpetrated across every
Yeah.
continent. Man.
Because it'll become marketable.
I think it's just loud right now because it's dying. You know, and
Yeah.
whenever something's dying, tries to go out with a bang. and that's white supremacy right now.
Yeah. It's got to die.
It's
But
gonna
it has
die.
to die in India, like how India. That's
okay,
it's
yeah.
very
That's
important.
a big one.
If it doesn't die in India, it will not take over because the
Dude.
Indian race is going to take over the world. Everyone's like black. No, it's
Yeah.
going to be Indian race. Indian.
Too
and
many of
probably
them.
Some Asian.
Too
It's
many
gonna
of
be-
us.
Yeah.
And Modi's a nationalist.
Yeah, well, that's the danger.
And he's scary as hell, man. Like his
Yeah.
thinking, the idea that he's planning on creating just like an ethno nation
Yeah.
for Hindus only.
Well, I mean, that's
Crazy.
probably like India should have been split up a little more when it first got independence from the British. You know, you had India, Pakistan. You should have given the Sikhs a homeland,
Yeah.
Tamils a homeland.
That's a good point.
You know, there could have been some work done
Oh, it's
decades
terrible.
ago, and now
Dude,
it's
the
coming
handoff
to a
is
head
terrible.
because it's a poor country.
Yeah.
And when you're struggling, you look for someone to blame,
Mm-hmm.
and nationalism's usually the easiest way to find that scapegoat. So, you know,
It's so terrible because it's a resource-rich, heavily populated nation with an incredibly high rate of, you know, real professionals, doctors and, you know,
Yeah.
scientists and engineers coming out of there. But the entire country's in fucking shambles.
Yeah.
Coast to coast, man. There's really nothing in India that's progressive outside of a couple of like mini Silicon Valley pockets
Yeah.
throughout India. It's
well,
a
it's just
disaster.
it's too big to properly manage. You know, I mean, you'd see the way India handled coronavirus. It was all on personal responsibility, which would make sense if you're in a smaller country where you can actually be accountable to each other. But when you have 1 billion people, no one knows each other. There's just masses of people. And you tell people, oh, yeah, no, be responsible. No, that's when you're going to have those 400,000 cases a day that you saw there and like them burning bodies in the
Unreal.
streets because no one's accountable. It's
Yeah.
just too big.
Do you see any system in the world right now that you admire and you think, fuck, that'd be good here?
Oh, God, I'm going to get in trouble for saying
Don't
this.
say it. Don't say it. That's too political of a system. I mean, I have a question.
So I don't
Listen to see
see
what we
I
got.
don't
Oh my
see
God.
any
This
system
is
right now as
exclusive.
perfect.
Yeah.
I honestly I think
Oh, that's a good
they
answer.
all need some work.
Mm-hmm.
I would say China has the most potential though.
Yeah. You're the second person today to say that to me.
What do you see that's
So
Weird.
like
progressive?
it's China has been able to lift their entire population out of poverty. Like that is a feat. 800 million people.
Literally, yeah.
That is the population of Canada. Like what? 200 times over.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know, that's a massive amount of people
Yeah.
lifted out of poverty in one generation.
It's powerful.
That is, yeah, and that shows the strength of and their authoritarian regime. You know, they are not a good regime.
No social freedoms.
Objectively speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
But that is the power of centralized, strong government. Now, where you can make it more human, you know, you still have the centralized government that clearly is motivated to keep their people happy.
Yeah.
Like, not happy, but
Sustained.
sustained. Yeah. Now you bring in local democracy at the municipal level, where the cities have more local autonomy to do what they want, develop how they want. Cultural practices are more accepted, but you still have an overall overarching idea behind, and that's, you know, keeping people out of poverty, keeping healthcare accessible and education accessible, which
Yeah.
China has to a degree. You know, everyone can get a job, everyone can go to school, everyone can get healthcare, but you know, in exchange, you don't have a lot of freedoms. Now it's just finding that balance, inching over without going all the way over one way or all the way over the other.
Yeah, because these are really delicate social experiments.
But it's again, the other thing is, like, what if China one day, their central government decides they don't care about the people anymore? There is that fear. And
they already have all the control.
yeah, and they already have all the control. So that's the fear. It's like, okay, you know, China's authoritarian government has acted overall in the best interest of the population writ large. But if they choose not to, if they choose, you know, let's you know, just kill a bunch of people, or, you know, let's just empower ourselves and leave people to be in poverty. There's no accountability there.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find that way of balancing the accountability with the, you know, and so ideally democracy would be that perfect system if everyone voted. And I don't mean to just look at you, but I mean, like, if everyone voted and had accurate information, and if leaders were truly accountable to their populations, and it's a matter of trying to find that.
I don't know though. China, like what happened with Hong Kong, is
Oh, yeah.
seems to be being swept under the rug.
Well, that's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
it. Like instead of what China did to Hong Kong, where they kind of went in guns
Bullied
blazing. What if you emulated Hong Kong and said, hey, what if the other cities had this autonomy like Hong Kong? And then,
It'd be phenomenal.
that could have been something. That
be
would have been a
phenomenal.
great
Never will.
experiment.
Because of that,
Yeah.
they will never have democracy in that country.
Bro, they
Stigma.
still have Mao on display,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
It's so weird.
And it's incredible to hear you say that about the system being a great, and I see it from that perspective. And on the same token, they're fucking committing the worst war crimes against.
Oh yeah, it's
peoples
still
on
a
the
country that
planet.
killed like 40 million of their own people during their growth, their great leap forward as they call it. And their great leap forward killed tens of millions of people. Well,
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they would cock block Taiwan. You know what I mean?
And Tibet.
I mean, in Tibet. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's terrifying how much power they have over even all aspects of the media there.
Yeah.
And you hear the kind of influence that they have in Hollywood. It's kind of fucked up.
Yep.
They charge everybody rent all around them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the simplest of messages in your movies, you can't put in your fucking movies.
Yeah.
They made them change the monk in Doctor Strange,
I didn't actually know that.
right?
Yeah.
To Tilda Swinton, right? It
Yeah.
was supposed to be an Asian
Mm-hmm.
monk from Tibet.
Oh,
And China's like, no, you can't have a fucking monk from Tibet in your movie.
damn, that's brutal. But Tilda Swinton killed that role.
she did?
She's amazing.
She killed it. She killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
This is crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot of power, man.
And they know though. They're smart.
Shadow
man.
Band episode. Fuck.
They go for all the industries. If you've noticed, all the North American industries, all of our most important things that we do and we love,
Existence.
it all is China. China has now infiltrated and bought major stakes in all those things, man. In all of it.
Well, it's dangerous with that influence they have in Africa now
yep.
and the impending control in the Philippines.
Yep. I mean, I would say a great thing about what China's done to Africa is now the West has responded and tried to create a system that's better than what China, because China's so successful in Africa because they're the only country building roads and infrastructure in
Yeah.
Africa. And so, if you're some African country
At the
that's been
expense.
absolutely
Yeah.
destroyed by colonialists, and China's like, hey, we'll build some roads for you, but you have to, give us some land.
Yeah, we own everything.
just
Yeah, yeah. But at that point, if you're that desperate, you'll be like, sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Take it. And
Hell
so
yeah.
now it's forcing the Western countries to be like, ooh, we should go in with a better system than China and be nicer to these countries, basically. And so, hey, it might overall in the long run, not because of China, but like because of China and in response to China.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
What did they possibly want out of Africa?
Oh, there's so much.
There's so many resources.
Like all the coal, like all
If you
minerals,
could- if
resources,
everything.
Yeah.
Everything that exists on
If
Earth.
you
So are
could
they
bring
just
peace.
coming to rape Africa then?
Yes.
Because it's already like not much happening there, and the
Yeah.
people are suffering. So
if you could bring peace to Africa and prosperity,
Yeah.
like
like actually give them money to build.
No.
if
My
you
money's
could,
not
no,
gonna
you
work.
don't give them money, but
No.
I don't think China's giving them money. But
No.
if you could even just bring schools and roads to
Yeah.
Africa,
Yeah.
you could get so much wealth from that country.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
or
there's some-
not that country, that continent.
There's
sorry.
some successful countries. There's some successful countries in Africa. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah.
all
Rwanda.
decimated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, to me, like, it's so blatantly obvious, dude. There's like 16 African countries that still pay fines for slavery ending. They pay taxes to like France and some of these other colonialist countries for slavery ending, and people know about it, and they still fucking pay these taxes. Like, how do you not stop this?
Good question.
That's
Yeah.
really good. It's
Blows my
I don't
mind,
know,
man.
It's a weird country because even here you say Rwanda, like Rwanda has flourished over the past like
Like
Yeah,
since the
decade.
genocide, yeah.
Brilliant people.
pretty much since the movie.
Yeah.
About Hotel Rwanda, starring
Yeah.
Don Cheadle. Kids go watch that movie. That's a classic.
Amazing movie.
Yeah.
Right? And you see, but since America put a spotlight on it, it's flourished. Maybe that's what has to start happening. Because is it Libya? That's a garbage dump.
Yeah, it's a
Is that the one where
bloodbath.
all the
Bloodbath.
garbage from France comes down and they dump it into Libya
I think that's Algeria.
or Algeria? One of
them.
those
I
on
think
the
there's
coast,
a few. I think
right?
there's
Yeah.
a few countries in Africa.
God,
that are
man, like-
waste, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, same thing happens in the Philippines.
Well, same thing Canada does to
Yeah.
the Philippines.
Well, it's just crazy because like it was such a fucking bloodbath, man. And all of the allied nations just kind of stood there and watched.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, but yeah.
You could spend billions of dollars and go in there and say,
do it.
"Hey,
Oh,
let
we
us
could
help."
have. I mean, if you should read the book the Canadian general who's deployed there wrote. I forget his name now, but it's Dance with the Devil. I think is his book.
Okay, yeah.
It was actually so simple. Canada and Belgium, the two countries that were in Rwanda before the genocide, could have prevented the genocide so easily,
By just stationing
and they
there.
just chose not to. That they could have taken the weapons. The weapons were stockpiled in pretty well plain sight, and they knew what those weapons were going to be used for. What's the general's name? Oh man,
Schwarzkopf.
it's really bothering me now because it's like, oh, I actually
he's got a French name, doesn't he?
yeah.
Is it the guy that was peeking in the windows and taking girls' underwear when they were in home?
No, that was in Somalia.
I know what you're talking about.
That general, Canadian general.
Yeah, but no, this one he knew what the weapons were being used for, and he saw the weapons, and he found the locations of all the stashes of weapons, and they could have gone there. They were
War crime.
undefended, and the Belgians and Canadians were just like, nah,
Not our place.
no, we're not going to interfere
War
here.
crime.
Fucking horrible.
Right? Little things. Oh, you didn't do it. Like that's a crime. It's a crime.
Oh yeah, you enabled because it was. I'm kind of a student when it comes to this stuff. I'm obsessed with this historical information, but the shit that they did to each other was fucking horrible. There were just thousands of bodies piled.
Do not
all over the
watch
streets.
documentaries about the Rwandan genocide
Oh,
if you want to
it's
sleep.
horrible.
It's yeah.
How the fuck do you? How do we do that? How do we do that to each other so brazenly?
It's and this sounds awful, but now it's a big topic of study in Western psychology, because this, I mean, the Holocaust and the genocide in Germany was very systemic. It was very hands off,
Controlled.
but Rwanda was very hands on. Like it was done with machetes,
Yeah.
And so how do you convince a population to murder friends and family? Like it was literally, there's accounts of neighbors murdering neighbors and husbands turning on wives and things like that with machetes. That is hands-on. That is personal. For psychology, it is a massive study because that is something, that is a level in our brain that we don't understand.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I've grown up with that kind of psychology around me. Like people, I've come across so many people that have
Short fuses.
I've murdered multiple people, right, in my life, and it's like they're a different type of person, man. They're a different type of person, and I don't know how I befriend crazy people, but I always do because I'm very
But
approachable.
you're an open person.
I'm an open person, and
Yeah.
you can't say anything to kind of weird me out.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. Like, it's the psychology of someone to be able to do that and to be able to just continue on.
But how do you flip a population like that?
Well, that was the thing, is it happened within less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the population went from normal Rwanda, like a little tense, but nothing extraordinary,
Yeah.
to average everyday citizens picking up machetes and murdering their neighbors.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
the
like,
purge.
yeah.
Insane. It was literally a bloodbath.
It was brewing over, and it was bound to happen. Is what it was,
so crazy.
and something sparked it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was no, actually. I mean, modern
It was
thought
la-
right
la-
now is it wasn't even brewing over. It was manufactured by certain leaders to get their ends.
Land disputes.
Yeah, there was some historical grievances from
Yeah,
the
that's
Belgians
right.
from when the Belgians were there, but it was very manufactured in the fact that who was targeting who and how it was done. Like they methodically killed I think it was the president or the prime minister was killed
Yeah.
the night before,
Yeah.
and it was done like very methodically to incite violence. Like everything was done very scientifically by the leadership, but then the genocide itself was the opposite.
Whole different thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine turning the entire population into murderers?
Yeah.
Everyone just decides it's okay to kill.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, you watch some documentaries about Rwanda today, and it's like, I saw this interview. It was these two neighbors. They're friends now, but during the genocide, one of the neighbors killed the other one's wife and kids.
Oh my god.
Now they're friends.
They have to be.
Oh,
They have no choice. It's like, okay,
'Cause they're
genocide.
neighbors.
Well, it's like the genocide. It was part of Rwanda's healing. It was like, we have to make amends. We have to
That's
reconcile.
intense, man. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
And it was just like watching them interview both these guys together,
Yeah.
talking to the camera, and like, they interviewed the one guy, like, how'd you kill the wife and kids? And then they interviewed the other guy, you lost your wife and kids. This guy, how do you like?
Fuck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, and the fucking
That
same thing's
hurts.
happening in South Africa right now.
Yeah.
The former president got arrested,
Yeah.
and
Well, South Africa's on its way out, unfortunately, because
kinda has
they're
to
having
be.
they're having some problems, man. Irrigation problems in that country and water issues. You know, global warming's really affecting them, right? I think the globe is turning, and it's putting, you know, Africa right up closer to the sun, and you see major drought, and that's why you see China and all these companies going in there. They're like,
take it off.
something's happening down there. Animal population shrinking. People can say poaching, but it's not. It's a climate.
We're fucking up the world.
These animals have to travel longer distances for water now, and so their packs are thinning out when they migrate
Yeah.
because of the water issue, right? And
It's worldwide.
And industrialism is just making it worse, and it's just a really shame. It's a real shame, man, because, you know, in the 80s, Africa was so plush and nice. You always saw the celebrities going there on TV. It's beautiful Africa, and all these animals and birds flying. Like, it was so beautiful, and you look at it now, dude, it's dead. It's
fucked
not
it
the
up.
same.
Have you always been politically motivated?
Yeah, I would say since I was end of high school.
What did it for you? What got you?
I had
this way?
actually an English teacher who I forget why, but she just randomly, like, I feel like she saw that I had some political leaning, and she's like, "Oh, you should. There's an election happening. I was too young to vote, but you should volunteer." And this was 2013.
Oh wow.
Jesus.
High school. in
2013.
Yeah, no, I told you guys,
mean the one that just passed?
I'm a little younger than you guys. I don't know. And I volunteered, and I guess, you know, I was one of the few brown people volunteering in North Vancouver. Wow. So I was used in a lot of photo ops. And
Oh, really?
I was
diversity.
I remember it because it was Adrian Dix running to become premier.
Yeah.
And we went to this event that he was hosting with all the candidates, and he thought I was a candidate because even at 17 I had a beard. I was
did?
wearing a suit. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he thought I was one of his candidates. He didn't, you know, he doesn't know all his candidates, I guess. And so he put me with all his other candidates, and I was just standing
Photo
there
op.
like,
Oh,
yeah.
that's good.
And when you're 17 and you get put in this position,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
Pretty cool.
wow, this is
Yeah.
really cool. And then like
Yeah.
the after party, we lost the election, but the after party, like I got to
Did you punch a hole in the wall?
no, but we
It didn't go to your head then.
no.
Okay,
we
that's
were
good.
at this art gallery, and you know, the candidate was there, and I was
I like
there,
how
and
you
I was
don't say his
underage.
name.
And,
He doesn't say his name. The candidate.
well, maybe because there was some underage drinking going on.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
I was
good. Yeah,
17.
don't say it. Good.
And
I like it.
the mayor of a certain municipality, who
Yeah.
was a supporter of the candidate, was there piss ass drunk.
Oh yeah.
And
the
when-
chaperone was.
yeah. And when you're 17,
Yeah.
underage
Take
drinking
advantage
with
of
the
it.
mayor,
Yeah. You
again,
take photos.
you're like, no, I
Scandal.
didn't
True
actually.
politicians take photos and blackmail later on. In life.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, I bet.
I've met him since, and he's a nice guy.
See,
He's
he tested your loyalty.
yeah.
And you stood up. You'll have a future.
But I think that was just such an amazing experience. I was like,
that's
I
dope.
got to keep doing this.
So are you going to run eventually for office?
Well,
People
yeah,
keep asking me that.
well, no, here's the thing. Yes, he is, because you have to get a taste of it early. It's like human blood
Maybe
to
actually.
a wolf.
I keep moving up, you
To
know.
a
it's
dog,
like,
right?
I need more. I need more.
Yes,
Yeah.
you've tasted the human blood
Yeah,
victory.
that's true.
You tasted political victory, and you're like, I need it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something. Here's some tough political questions. Okay, we're gonna
all
hit
right.
you with some tough political
hit me.
questions.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Well, hit
for
them
it.
with some tough ones. Okay, I'll
for it.
start with you. Candidate. If you could go back in time
Okay.
and change any political decision ever made, please tell me what political decision that would be and
Big,
why.
Big thinking.
And this is in Canada.
This is in. I don't care. I want to see your range.
Oh man.
Any political decision you think that's happened that you would have changed?
Well,
and
because so I don't want to go too far back because butterfly effect, I might not exist, right?
Ooh.
So I'm still going to preserve myself, and who knows what massive unintended consequences might come out of,
why? Yes.
like there's this theory
This
that
is purely hypothetical.
Yeah.
I cannot make this happen.
I was just going to say, like, there's this theory that if, for example, Hitler never became the leader of Germany, the Soviets and Americans would have gotten into nuclear war because they wouldn't have known the power of nuclear weapons.
Wow.
And they would have basically brought nuclear annihilation to the world. So, for example, like I could say, oh, get rid of Hitler. That's easy. But there's quite a good chance we could have ended humanity without Hitler
Oof.
because we didn't know what nuclear weapons would do.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go pretty recent. And honestly, my decision would be when the Liberals in 2015 said they were going to change the voter system from first past the post to proportional representation.
Oh, I remember that.
I would go with that. They would follow through with that promise because
That's dope.
it's recent enough that it won't affect too much.
Interesting.
But I think it'll bring enough positive change that we could have been in a lot better place just even today versus 5 years ago.
Okay, my question's going to be a little
What,
more
liberal?
serious.
I was going to say liberal candidate. Do you did you have any?
Mine's a little more serious.
Okay.
Are you willing to take from the police budget to
yep.
increase funding towards schools, hospitals, and things like that?
Not hospitals. Sounds bad. I think hospitals should have their own dedicated funding, but I do like there's this initiative that started in Vancouver with Vancouver Coastal Health and the police called Car 87. And it's one cop and one mental health worker together in a car.
Right.
I would take
Sounds like a TV show.
It will become one.
Yeah. It definitely would. If it comes to America, they're going to start,
100%.
a cop,
This
a
is
mental
your
health
show.
worker, and our Fox News crew,
Yeah.
just sitting in the back.
Ew.
Yeah. No, but I would, for example, I'd use more of the police budget to fund more Car 87s. I would make that a more widespread thing that there's a Car 87 7 days a week,
Right.
24 hours a day, for example.
Because their budget's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, yeah. And if you could spend it on things like a Car 87, though, you're still technically keeping the police budget the same. It's just being redirected into more supportive, less gun-toting
Valuable ways.
kind of, yeah.
The hospital should have their own budget.
Yes.
Increased?
Healthcare.
Increased?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Well, not just increased, but it needs to be made more efficient. Canada has a great healthcare system compared to some countries, but it's also very inefficient in many ways.
Terribly
We pay our doctors based on how many patients they see,
This is crazy.
which makes sense on the surface, but that encourages doctors to get their patients keep coming back. It creates this dependency, this codependency.
Fast food medicine.
Exactly. So we need to create a system where actually doctors would get paid more if their patients comes to visit them less. Therefore, their patient is not being as much of a burden on the healthcare system.
Yeah.
And the doctor's actually truly thinking the long-term future of that patient.
That's important.
Why does that sound so far-fetched? When you
Yeah,
say it
right?
out loud, I'm thinking to myself, that sounds fucking perfect, but why is that such a big ask? Isn't that their fucking job?
Well, I mean, it would be a lot of work to change the system, but beyond that, yeah, it should just be logical.
There's
be
a
automatic.
very logical reason why. Because everything
it's a massive
takes time
industry.
to change. Like everything takes time to change, and you can't just change it. It has to go through the processes of change.
There's a review and then a review on the review.
And even more so because you have to change a whole culture's mentality. So you got to take a generation. You got to take 20, 25 years to change something.
How do you break that? Like, if let's say there's what would it take? What position of elected official would it take to look at this system and look at all of the fuckery that they put in to prevent things from happening and just say, fuck it, I'm getting rid of all this?
Yeah, it would.
Who would be able to do that?
Oh,
what
I know
position
who.
of power?
The Queen!
Bitch.
The fucking biggest bitch of them all. It has the power to do it.
But is there an elected official that has that ability?
If the Prime Minister of Canada had the support of 2/3 of the provinces of Canada,
Okay.
that would give them the supermajority to change the Constitution.
Interesting.
Okay.
The only thing is every Prime Minister who's tried to change the Constitution won or lost their next election because it takes so much energy to change the Constitution that you forget about everything else.
Who's the last one that tried it?
Mulroney.
Huh.
95.
Oh, Brian.
That's a long fucking time
Canadian.
ago.
And then before that, it was Trudeau Sr. Yeah.
So is it that I mean, obviously, when you
nice.
have 2/3 of the majority,
It's interesting.
and now you're able to make that decision, it kind of almost seems like you're being a dictator, even if the policy is
Well,
positive.
that's exactly why they lose the next election, because there's, the opposition can spin it all sorts of ways, right? And
Trying to make you un-Canadian.
yeah, like, oh, our system has worked
imbalance.
fine as is. Aren't you happy, average, everyday Canadian?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I guess I'm happy. I thought I wasn't, but now that you think, yeah, okay, I'm happy. Yeah, okay, then you should vote against this guy. He's not thinking about you.
Politics.
Yeah.
It's
Joke.
battle
Yeah.
rapping, man.
Imbalance of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like battle rapping, right?
Oh, we need a battle rapper as the prime minister. That would be. I've always, because Jagmeet's a huge hip hop head. Like, he used to be a hip hop promoter before he went into politics
about
too.
that.
It'd be
Yeah.
dope if you went up there, like
He just started
rapping
battle rapping. Oh man,
but just even rhyming.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just like spitting bars.
Do you think the country's ready for that?
No.
No.
There's too many white people that don't.
Hip
fuck with
hop is the number one genre of music in the world.
Yeah.
But in terms of voting population, the average voter's a white male still.
Yeah. I've listened to Michael Bublé.
Yeah, it's exactly though. It is.
So have you always been a hip hop head?
Wait, I got one more political question
Oh,
for
go
you.
in, go in.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, one
yeah,
more.
fair. And then we'll switch
And then we'll get
topics.
them
Yeah.
outside. What is your view and I don't know if you can speak for your party's view, but
I'm
I
not
would
going
like
to speak
know
for my party's view.
about vaping in the vaping industry. Like, the vaping industry has been trying to really change the lives of people. Like,
Yeah.
sure, there's recreation. A lot of people, younger people, have taken it, and young adults. But, it's really changed the lives of people who've gone from smoking to vaping. And it seems like there's this cancel from the government to get rid of flavors and to do everything. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of marketing to kids, and I mean,
Through
there's
the-
like I personally I love the idea of vaping as a smoking alternative. But for example, like back when hip hop shows were still a thing, I remember the last show I went to at Fortune Sound Club, everyone got a free vape, and it's like,
Oh.
I didn't quite understand that. I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
that's
I just,
illegal.
huh? Is
That's
it
illegal.
Is it? I didn't even know.
Yeah. You can't just hand out those vapes. Those should be handed out at a store. You need to card everybody. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like, that's the thing.
I'm sorry for ratting on you,
No,
Fortune
no,
Sound
we'll
Club.
cut it out, we'll cut it out.
No,
Okay.
it's I don't think whoever that promoter was, they're probably broke because of COVID, anyways.
Yeah.
So we're not
Those
not
vapes
ratting on
kicking
anyone,
around.
but yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
vapes are way too accessible
Mm-hmm.
to people who don't smoke, for example, is I think the problem. And there is some of that marketing. I think especially you don't see it in everyday media, but for example on TikTok and Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of marketing towards young people, and it's just trying to
But
target that.
how are young people getting it? Are their parents just buying it for them?
Well, the same way young people get alcohol, right?
Facts.
You have an older brother, or you're an underage girl, and there's some creepy 19-year-old dude, you're going to get your
But I
vape.
wonder if but the true question is, like, would you rather your kids smoke cigarettes or vape?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's
I
true.
I mean, is the
Yeah.
true question, because we're not banning cigarettes anytime soon. And cigarettes aren't banning anytime.
Thanks for the blueberries, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was-
delicious.
Right? So it seems like this is a ploy in some weird way.
I don't think vapes will be banned. I think, yeah, I hope the flavors aren't banned, but there just needs to be
Some
rules on marketing
regulation,
the
right?
same way they do with tobacco.
You should not be allowed to market any vape products whatsoever.
How is it
Yeah.
being marketed right now? That's
Vape?
causing- yeah,
well,
that's
it's like
causing-
you get social media influencers. A
problem
lot.
is
There's a
that
lot of
it's-
this like, there's a lot of the advertising, like nightclubs are advertising vapes. Every nightclub you go to has a vape advertisement in their bathroom, and
right.
again giving out free vapes, and
Yeah.
then influencers advertising vaping tricks and things like that.
Well, I have a 13-year-old and a 20-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
14, sorry, and 20-year-old. And my 14-year-old, when I go to pick her up from school, fucking
Kids
grade
are vaping.
8 kids, man.
Vaping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
Well,
See them all in the corner, big fucking clouds of smoke above their head. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
how do they get it? Yeah.
Dude, the kids were smoking weed in my
Oh,
school.
for sure.
Kids were
There
smoking
was a smoke
cigarettes.
pit.
Remember the smoke pit at a high school?
Every high
Always.
school had one.
Right?
Yeah.
And they never said anything about that. They say, go
so
out there.
weird.
Remember the teachers were like, go to the smoke pit.
Yeah, that's gross. Go
Well,
there.
my school, we called it analyzing herbs in the forest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we couldn't get our hands really on cannabis when we were that age. For some reason, it was just hard drugs that was permeating our high schools.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
That is weird.
Yeah, well, Jo was fucked up, man.
Actually, no. So I have a story. So I had a friend at the Catholic school in North Vancouver, St. Thomas Aquinas. Everyone in North Van High School smoked weed. That was it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was the easiest thing to get. I go to STA just to, like, visit my friend. First thing happens, I go around back to see my friend. Some kid comes up, is like, "You want some cocaine?"
Yeah.
And I'd never even, like, I just thought, and this is a generational thing. I'm like, cocaine's a boomer drug. Like, who the hell does cocaine? Like, what? But hey, go to a Catholic high school. First thing, you want some cocaine?
Well, the school that I went to is John Oliver Secondary in Southeast Van. And in the era that I went to school, coke was everywhere.
Yeah.
Fucking grade 8, grade 9 kids doing coke, like no big deal.
And what generation are you a part of?
I graduated in 97.
Oh, is that X or no?
I
It's
don't
Gen
know.
X.
Is that?
Yeah, you're Gen X.
Okay.
You're 77?
79.
79, yeah.
How are you trying to age me, man?
I don't
Fuck.
know.
Put a couple of extra years on it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Gen X. You're Gen X. Just before
Well, yeah, but-
millennials 80 and
But
plus.
coke is very much okay. Gen X and boomers. Actually, not even boomers. It's a Gen X drug. Honestly,
really
boomers
is.
did acid like way
Yeah,
back when.
Boomers, that's so weird.
Mushrooms and acid.
Yeah.
Dude, the worst thing is when my kids talk about our generation as the late 1900s.
Yeah,
I want
1900s.
to fucking punch them.
Late
Yeah,
1900s.
I
Yeah, that's what I stole
I
that
know.
from kids. I use that. That's
I know.
fucking good.
I want to hit them when they say that shit.
Yeah. I just think it's so classic.
Back in the 1900s.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey,
It's so
did you grow up in a religious home?
No.
Did you? So, you
So
went
my
to a
dad's Jewish. My mom's Hindu, so I'm a Hindu.
Hindu.
Yeah.
So,
But because of that, like, you got a monotheistic and polytheistic
Yeah.
religion.
yeah.
In the end, that just made us not a very religious
Yeah,
household.
yeah, that would be
'cause
really
Thankfully.
tough.
Those
That'd be
don't.
tough.
Those don't.
Do you believe in
reconcile.
like the whole religion, God, all that stuff? Or?
I mean, I have spiritual beliefs. I
Yeah.
would not say I culturally identify as Jewish.
Oh, okay, cool.
But religiously, I don't know if I would say I.
So you don't believe in God, but you believe in like Jesus was rolling
No,
around.
God, no.
He was David. He was David Blaine, kind of.
Yeah,
of
you know.
back in the day. He was David Blaine, created street.
No, he was
The
just a
streets
healer.
of Jerusalem magic
His
with
magic.
Jesus.
No, man. He only had one gift, just healing. That was the only gift.
It's just a doctor who time traveled.
Yeah.
They discovered time traveling like 500 years from now, and then some guy's like, "I'm gonna go back."
I'm
in time."
gonna mess with these Jews, man. Shalom, this motherfucker. Here
Yeah.
you go.
Hey, man. With what's happening in Israel and Palestine right now, it's kind of fucked up.
Oh yeah.
They need magic over there. They need a magician to come in and
They need a
cheer
return.
everyone up.
They need a return.
Do you follow what happens over there? So you relate to
I
more
was
the
in-
Jewish side of you?
I was in Israel in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Every Jew gets a free trip to
Oh,
Israel.
you did the right of return
Oh
trip?
yeah.
Oh, you get a free trip?
Yeah,
the right
every
of
Well,
Jew
return.
gets
what is
one.
the right of what?
Right of return.
Yeah.
Is
And they-
that where you exchange your foreskin for a trip to fucking? Is that the one? Because I've heard that. And then the foreskin. No, it comes
no
back to
foreskin
haunt you
involved.
later in life. Your mother pulls it out when you meet the girl of your dreams or something. Like I don't remember.
I've never heard this story, but
No, that's not the one.
no, that's
Okay,
not
so
the
what's
one.
the trip about?
How was your trip?
It was good. Yeah.
Foreskin
It was
too.
interesting though, but like, yeah, so every Jew just gets a free trip to. You have to do an
That's
interview
awesome.
and whatever, but the idea is to try and keep you in Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like a reality show, like a Survivor. We're
Well,
gonna
no,
take you. You
well,
stay.
they just what they do is, and
We'll lure
there was
you.
a couple of people from my trip who stayed. Is,
Really?
oh yeah.
Do you look at them and go,
Oh, always. Like, there's a trip of. It's always trips of 40 people.
Yeah.
And usually one or two will always
So
stay.
you become an instant citizen.
Yep.
Do you have to renounce that citizenship of your other country?
Only if they make you.
oh wow?
So they could make you.
Yeah. But the idea is now once you're a citizen of Israel,
Well, do you wanna
you
go anywhere
have to be
else?
in the military.
dude. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to. You mandatory.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Was
real.
it 6 years or something?
No, 2.
Oh, 2 years.
Yeah.
That's
So
not bad.
did this become a
Make it
conflict for you?
Did it become I've never even considered staying in Israel.
Hell no.
I mean, like, they
North
tried to
America-
show you the best side of Israel. Like, you know, we got a very much rosy colored glasses view of Israel, but there was still points where it's like, like, for example, we went up to the Golan Heights.
Oh wow.
So that's that's the only part of land that Israel conquered from its neighbors that I think Israel should keep, just because strategically there's no one living there. Like, there's a few people, but not a lot. And strategically, it's just a defensive kind of area.
Right.
So it's like, whatever. There's no resources there. Israel can keep that. Give the rest back, kind of idea. But the Golan Heights borders Syria, and Syria was in the midst of a civil war
Right.
when I was there. And it was absolutely wild looking. You go up to the Golan Heights and you just look into Syria, and you're looking into a civil war.
Fuck.
And
Like
what?
missiles and stuff.
Well, we didn't get to see a missile, but we saw this just bombed out town.
Yeah.
And
Unreal.
apparently, a trip like 6 months earlier got to see the bombing when it happened. Like the whole town just get like missiled and bombed.
Crazy.
And we're like, so who controls this territory?
Yeah.
ISIS at the time controlled that territory. And everyone's like, there's a little bit of tension, like, oh my God, are they going to like murder us or going to snipe us across the border? And our guide was just like, oh no, they wouldn't do that because we helped them. And it's like, what? And it's like, well, in the end, Israel wants, like, he didn't put it, in these clear words, but he danced around the topic. And basically, Israel wants their neighbors to not get along.
Yeah.
So that they don't go to war with Israel.
It's the American way.
Yeah. And so Israel gives medical supplies to ISIS, or they did give some medical supplies to ISIS. And because of that, ISIS isn't going to provoke Israel into attacking them. ISIS does not want to kill any Jews.
And Israel would destroy it.
That's the
exactly.
cardinal sin.
Exactly. So, you could be a Jewish Israeli citizen, walk right up to the border with Syria. You could see an ISIS fighter who fundamentally wants you to die. He will not shoot you because that would provoke Israel to attacking them. And they don't want that because they want to win their civil war.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
So you felt 100% safe all the time.
I personally did. Some people didn't. I do have a high threshold for safety.
Right.
Yeah. You're very aware of your surroundings.
Not only that, I'm also very, I don't know the proper word for it, but confident. Going into surrounding that I won't get hurt. If I'm going somewhere,
like fucking Steven Seagal or something.
I don't know. I just,
don't tell me you don't know. You're like, I don't know. Test me. Do you see that? That was that look. I don't know. Test me.
Yeah, it's just like I go into somewhere. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go if it's safe, and if I go, it's safe.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Oh, crazy.
And like we went to a market in Jerusalem that got bombed 3 days after we left.
Damn.
So there's little bits and pieces that you'd get exposed to.
Pardon the pun. Boy.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So that's a pretty amazing trip actually to go over there and.
I would recommend any Jewish person do it just to experience what Israel's like.
That, eh? I was watching the Amish. It reminded me something about the Return to Amish. Have you ever seen that show? So they take the Amish people out and they send them to New York City. And they have sex with hookers, and they go to strip clubs, and they drink, and they get drunk, and then they come back, and they're like, do you want to stay here or go back to that life? And these kids are like, oh, yeah, I want to go back to that life, obviously, right? Who wants to go...
Live in sin.
Go back to horses and milking cows, right? And so, it seems like that's something in each culture that's a test.
Do you think there's a compromise with Israel-Palestine?
Oh,
a realistic
I
option for compromise?
Oh, yeah. I think at this point, ball's in Israel's court. Like, I do think... Like, I absolutely support Israel's right to exist. And I think visiting there kind of helped solidify that because I'd never been in a situation where a majority of people were Jewish. Wow. And that's kind of why culturally I identify as Jewish because I never did until I went to Israel. And then I realized there's some mannerisms and things I do and the ways I act that's a Jewish thing. And I'm like, oh, there's Jewish things I didn't realize. And people just get things that I do. And they're like, oh. Yeah, that's just a Jewish thing. I'm like, oh, I just thought it was a weird thing that I do, kind of. So
interesting.
I think the world needs a Jewish state just so that Jewish people who maybe need that kind of identity around them can feel comfortable. I don't need that. I don't mind being
a
weird
Jewish person in Canada
or outcast. Yeah, in some ways. I don't care. But, if you want to belong as a Jewish person, there should be somewhere you should be able to go.
So Netanyahu's out.
Yeah, thank God.
Being tried for multiple crimes.
Oh, God, yeah.
And this next prime minister is a real, hardcore Zionist.
Oh, is he?
I think you can't win an election anymore in Israel without being a Zionist.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I think, though, you can still be a Zionist and believe in a two-state solution.
Do you think he feels that way?
I think personally, and this is completely speculation. I think he does, but he can't show it because he'll lose the election. So he has to do subtle things here and there.
Interesting.
Because Netanyahu has screwed Israel, whipped it into a nationalist frenzy.
Yeah.
So, undoing Netanyahu's damage is going to take time.
I love this conversation, so I'm going to pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
Do you think Yasser Arafat was effective in helping Palestine keep some kind of self-determination?
Yes, I do, and I think where he was most effective is as a figurehead. You know, again, people look for their leader. People,
Belief.
you know, they like the leader. They like someone that they can look up to and kind of glorify.
A little bit of worship.
Yeah. And I don't think I don't think he was an angel by any means.
course.
You know, he wasn't great, but again, what he represented to the Palestinian people was something.
They all have great names.
Well, because they weren't able to really occupy lands without Arafat, you know, going into a fucking tirade all the time, right? So they, at least the part about seizing Palestinian homes, that wasn't as widespread as it is now. Now, essentially,
It's just done.
a free-for-all.
It almost feels normal
Yeah.
for Israel to go in and just be like, yeah, these homes are ours.
That's just unbelievable
shit,
to me,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone coming to your house and be like, sorry, you don't live here anymore. It's fine now.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason why public sentiment for the first time in decades really has
Is
been
pro-Palestine,
against Israel. I think there were pockets when Arafat was alive where people were like, yeah, Palestine, because they were like the little guy getting
Yeah.
shit kicked all the time.
Yeah.
But for a long time, with what's been happening with the idea of Iran funding Palestine to be this, you know, military power when they're really not. For the first time, it's kind of seemed like Israel looks like an asshole.
Yeah, well, I think that's Netanyahu. I think that will be undone with is it Benny Gantz?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's because Hollywood was controlled by
the public opinion
Jewish people.
of Israel. Can you
Control the
imagine
narrative, buddy, for a long time, and we're able to put out amazing music, amazing movies that really created a lot of sympathy with North America, with the 300 plus million people that
Dude,
were
they got
in.
a fucking entire Israeli. What do you call it? Fucking APAC. What is it called? They have like an entire. Oh, I can't believe
I
that.
don't know what we're talking about here. Sorry.
I know we go all over the place.
In the
All right,
U.S.,
all right.
the U.S., they have like a lobbying Israeli
Yeah.
lobbying group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about like a super PAC.
Yeah, specifically
Super PAC, yeah.
specifically an Israeli one.
Yeah.
in
Oh yeah.
America.
Oh yeah.
Dude, Netanyahu came to the fucking U.S. and gave an address in front of Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This shit doesn't happen. They're like one little, you know,
They love it,
love
man.
pact.
There's an agenda here for the world to really, and I don't disagree with it. The Jewish people went through a lot, and it's hard to handle it because they're like trauma. A friend that you know that has suffered serious trauma.
Well, it's like in and it's nothing like, but it's in the sense the Jewish people. There's been a dozen attempts to wipe them out in just
Yeah.
the last few centuries, right? And so it's like when you go through that and you just hear stories, like every Jewish person I know has or knows a Holocaust survivor in
Yeah.
their family,
It's
right?
unreal.
When you think about that many, and then you think like 80 or I think it's 90% of Poland's Jewish population gone.
yeah,
That's wild.
Like these are massive numbers.
it's crazy.
So it's kind of like imagine if the genocide against indigenous people was done more openly
Right.
and everyone knew it
Everyone to see,
existed and
yeah.
everyone's those graves of children, we saw them being put in those graves. Like
Right.
imagine if there was just this harsh reality of genocide. That's what's kind of molded the psyche of the Jewish people. And so everything in their mind is on defense,
Yeah.
which fair, but they're being enabled in ways they shouldn't be enabled in. And that, that's Netanyahu and that's the American government
Yeah.
funding.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And when we speak about the legality of it, and I know it's so stupid because none of these countries are really legal, but the legality of creating Israel the way it was created with the backyard dealings of the UK and the Rothschilds and all these other things. And people think these are conspiracy theories. They don't think this shit is real.
No, but I mean, I would say in defense of the creation of Israel, like almost every state in Africa was created somewhat like this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it sounds bad, but it's just normal. It's
In this world
it's
we
the
created.
history of so many colonial era states, like states created by the British or the French. That's just how they were done. Backroom deals, like, oh, the border can go here. I don't care.
Yeah. That's how it really was.
And so that's just the reality of Israel. And, you can't, it's kind of too late to change those borders. You can give the land back that was conquered, free Palestine. But yeah, in terms of an actual massive change in the borders beyond, giving Palestine their land, and I don't see anything else happening really.
Damn. Another ethnic cleansing to add to our
It's super sad, but
This
true.
has been a very I think we should move to cheerful topics.
Right? I
Yeah,
was gonna say we got
we've-
dark.
Yeah, and that's partly my fault. No, it's because I'm a dark introvert, right? And I thrive in the darkness, right? And the dark subjects. That's
Well,
where I feel
I'm
cozy.
really intrigued by this by
Yeah.
these conversations,
Yeah.
right? And you are obviously in the know, so for me,
Yeah.
it's like
And this is just another example of how diverse our program is. We
Right?
went over every culture. We didn't just stick to North America. We did every culture around the world, from China to Japan to
and everywhere in
know,
between.
everywhere in between.
We haven't talked about Kazakhstan, Just
Oh,
give a
yeah.
quick shout,
We'll say-
It's not known for Borat. Kazakhstan was the birthplace of the apple and the peach.
Oh
is
wow!
that really?
So don't think of Borat when you think Kazakhstan. Think about modern fruits.
really?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I thought the Okanagan was the
Right?
That's crazy.
All start in
let's ask
Kazakhstan.
Some high phrase questions.
Well, we were gonna ask him about originally before we got to Israel. I don't know how, but so you always been a hip hop head?
Right. We were going to music. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on top of this. We're on top of this.
We went somewhere else when we were. No. Yeah, and I'm gonna be embarrassed saying this, but I started off as a country fan
Nice.
when I was younger.
That's good.
I
all
just
good.
loved guitar when I was growing up,
Wow,
like just
that's
listening
weird,
to
but that's
guitar. I love just
Same.
banjo, guitar,
Yeah.
anything with strings. Count me
Strings,
in.
you're a
Yeah.
stringer.
wow.
I can't play for shit.
No.
Like I'll just put
But
that.
something about it soothes
The
the
sound,
inner beast.
yeah.
The beast inside.
And then I realized like every country song sounds the same, and so I
Who'd you
started.
like growing up for country?
I
I don't know country.
I don't
That's
know either,
interesting.
to be honest.
Just
it was
whatever country
just
song,
any.
just the
I would just
sound.
listen to JRFM on the radio.
Wow.
Yeah.
The sweet, 98 beat per minute songs
Yeah.
that is like
Guns and
take you
trucks
down.
and girls and guns. Yeah.
Right. So what's the first hip hop song you remember liking? You're like, oh, I actually
Oh,
like that.
I
Cowboy
remember.
Troy?
I think it was 2004 on
God, Kanye
94.5. No, Chaos Crabs in the Bucket.
Oh,
Crabs in the
great
Bucket.
song.
Yeah.
Chaos is
Crabs in-
hella
so
underrated.
Crabs in the Bucket. You went from country to Crabs in the Bucket. Makes
That's when I
sense.
discovered drums, that percussions can exist in music.
man.
And I was just like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this.
Nice.
He's a
Um,
badass for sure.
so that was, my dad had a few Tupac and Eminem songs.
course.
So, I heard it here and there,
Is he a
but
hip hop fan or no? Just
he likes all
random?
music. He's 66 years old, white guy, Jewish, just listens to anything. He
pretty cool.
loves it. He has some Tech Nine, Tupac.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
dads would be pretty cool now. If you think about all of us being dads, like our music selection would have been pretty.
Yeah, my kid's pretty lucky.
back
Yeah. Oh, the younger generations are gonna have it good with how much music their parents know and like.
yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But so I was exposed to some hip hop through my dad, but I always just thought of it as, oh, that's my dad's music. That's old people music,
Wow,
you know.
see, that's how it is,
That's
dude. It's how it
nuts.
is.
But it wasn't that old at the time. Like Eminem was a young artist when I was
Yeah.
growing up, and so
That's crazy.
it was actually relevant stuff. But then I got into Beatles, Rolling Stones as well, and the Rolling Stones I think introduced me to a lot of hip hop because they have these early hip hop sounds in a lot of their
soul.
music. Yeah,
Soul music.
and I think after that, oh man, what's it called? Missed That. It's by Lloyd and Lil Wayne and Andre 3000.
Oh, okay.
It's called Missed That. A Dedication to My Ex.
Dedication
Okay.
to my ex. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, so when I was like 12 years
Yeah.
old, I love that song.
Yeah.
You know the chorus is like, I miss that pussy.
Yeah.
That,
Oh yeah.
that was such a good song. And then Andre 3000's verse
he's
in that track
fucking
was
amazing.
probably what really introduced me to hip hop. I was like,
Wow.
what
What a great
is
introduction.
It's
this?
a great song.
Yeah.
That was a track to remember. And then I just went all in on hip hop after that.
Yeah, three stacks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So after all of your like exploits into hip hop, who do you consider the best hip hop artist?
The single best,
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah. Like who do you think is the best? Like you've heard a whole bunch of different ones, different styles,
That's
current, back then.
impossible, man.
Well, who do you
I
think?
can-
Who would you put up there and on a
You know what? I'll do is I'll give you the best who don't get acclamation
and
for
your
being the best.
and your
How about that?
Your view, yeah.
Because I think Kendrick Lamar is probably amongst the best. I think To Pimp a Butterfly,
Oh yeah.
Good Kid, Mad
Masterpiece.
Good
Pulitzer
Kid, Mad
Prize
City
winner.
is groundbreaking.
Oh,
but
Nobel
front to
Peace
back.
Prize
To
winner.
Pimp a Butterfly, I think is just going to be remembered as one of the greatest albums
Yeah.
of this era of hip hop.
Yeah, his pen game is pretty amazing.
Yeah, but underrated people who don't get the credit that they deserve for being amazing top tier hip hop artists. Shad is the first one that comes to
Oh
mind.
yeah, Shad is dope.
Shad.
Another Canadian
Shad-
artist.
Yeah,
Shout
he
out
is-
Shad.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard
and
Chad for a long time. Wasn't he with Snow back in the day?
maybe one track.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Informer.
And that documentary does is great.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and he knows hip hop, but
Yeah,
he's just
the head.
he has such a diversity of music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, different types of instrumentals. He goes to rock, he goes to reggae, he goes to everything.
He can spit on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Pretty good.
I think he's probably, in my opinion, the most underrated. Like he
That's
deserves to
interesting.
be recognized as much higher tier than he is.
Sure, agreed.
Beyond that, I mean, I'm obsessed with anything Run the Jewels releases.
Oh yeah.
You know, anything Run the Jewels.
Killer Mike is great,
Yeah.
man.
Killer Mike is insane, and LP's production is
Yeah.
is magnificent.
Yeah, they got a great balance.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
a real hip hop head right here.
Yeah. We can talk about hip hop for a while. I mean, like I have no musical talent. And I've mentioned that already. I can't play an instrument for shit. Can't sing, can't rap, can't write. I just love music, and so I try and get involved in any way possible.
Yeah, so because you are involved.
I try to stay as relevant into the music scene as I can be without making music.
Yeah.
And so I started off as a show promoter. Went to
okay.
booking my own shows, and it's kind of sad, but at the time when I was booking club shows, and you know, shout out to my boss Connor and Pierre, Rapture Events, but we were one of the few crews actually paying our artists
Yeah, that's
for a
fucking
club
cool.
show, and it was just like, you know, we'd pay them, you know, in the end it was kind of shit. We'd give them $50 for a show.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good though.
But
You guys were the only ones.
but we were the only ones who were guaranteeing you're going to get $50
Yeah.
to show up for the
Yeah.
show.
That's huge.
I'm like that too, though. That you have to be like that with
Dude, that's
artists.
huge. No promoters do
Only
that. right now.
artists,
Yeah.
because they're not artists.
Yeah.
And so it's like we did do that, you know, and eventually the company went under, so it obviously wasn't
Yeah.
the best business
No,
model.
but you impacted the lives of those
You
performers.
made it real for them.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we gave, I mean, there's a lot of, relatively speaking, big names in Vancouver who got their start through us.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Showing no love.
we gave them club shows, we paid them for those shows. So there was that, and after that folded, I got to know some people through working events and shooting music videos,
Yeah.
and so I started going to doing music videos, and I just like doing it for fun. So I was, you know, I don't mean to undersell professional music video producers, but I was doing it for free just
Yeah.
to like do
No,
it.
that's
It was
good.
something fun to do.
Love of the journey.
Exactly, yeah. You know, it's not my career, so I didn't ever intend to put anyone out of business or like, you know, steal contracts or whatever like that. It was just like, as I refined my craft, and we were talking about this before the show, is there's a lot of great hip hop artists out there who just don't have the resources or the connections.
Facts. Big
And
time.
so it's like now me and my roommate's a producer. He makes beats. He also does videos. He's, you know, he does it all. And
Shout out Cluelet.
Cluelet, yeah. Well, you know, one of our things now is like we can be picky in what hip hop artists we work with, because
That's dope.
he'll give them a beat for like pennies on the dollar, and then I'll shoot him a music video for free. And the idea is, though, if we're doing this kind of service, we can be picky.
I guess.
That's
gotta be- it's gotta be
for the-
dope.
They've got to be, and you know, there's one artist right now that we're really wanting to work with, and we've reached out to him. Sorry, Alite, it's not you, but
all
like,
good,
you know,
it's all good.
you're good. You don't worry. But this guy is just another level. His name's J-Rez, local Filipino hip hop artist, you know, early 20s. And I have never seen so much dedication, drive, and skill from someone that young.
How old is he?
He's maybe 23, 24.
Wow.
J-Rez.
J-Rez, yeah. And so we're going to be making an album with him. I met him through Rapid Fire. So I do this project, Rapid Fire. We get a bunch of artists on Cyphers, film it. Alite was on,
Yeah.
killed it.
Shout out Rapid Fire.
That was
Dope.
probably actually, and again, this is not a sign of disrespect. Done a lot of Cyphers. That's my second favorite Cypher, the one you were
Dope.
on. You know, and the favorite one was the one that J-Rez was on.
That's sick.
So it's you meet some top quality artists, and yeah, I met him there. I was like, wow, this guy's like amazing. He came in, he did his entire verse, one take, you know, on beat perfectly. We didn't even need to do a second take
That's
or anything.
dope.
He was just there, done, ready to go. We're like,
Wow.
wow.
It's very rare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so rare. Like, I mean, for some reference, for a rapid fire cipher, we'll get 3 to 4 artists on. I will book 8 in expectations that 3 to 4 show up.
Oh wow.
You know,
That's
and
crazy.
I will book 8 expecting 4 to show up and 1 who shows up to not have their bars, and so that
whack.
they need to be cut.
That's
Wow.
whack.
You know, like the one that you were on, I think
Yeah.
I booked like 5 or 6, and it was
3.
3 of you. Yeah,
Damn.
no, and 1 was late. You know, 1 was very
Yeah,
late. You know,
yeah,
we
that's
waited an
outrageous.
hour for him.
Fuck.
Yeah, so that's when you meet someone that just kind of comes in prepared and does their job, like that's impressive in and of itself. Like showing up at this point is impressive.
That's terrible.
And he delivered bars. And so then we did this project. So again, because I don't have anything else besides my time and a little bit of money, we produced this project with a rapper named Noble called House on Fire,
Yeah.
where we rented an Airbnb for a weekend, turned it into a studio.
Oh, that's dope.
And
You lit
invited
it on fire.
we could go into a topic on
Metaphorically.
Airbnb and my issues with them, but we won't. No, turned it into a studio and just recorded a bunch of music, made a whole album,
Oh wow.
and we're finally releasing the tracks. We filmed a documentary of us putting this project together, and that's all going to come out quite soon. There's a
That's
few
sick.
tracks already out on YouTube and Spotify. House on Fire, you know, check it out.
Yes.
There's my promo.
That's dope. Yeah,
And,
make sure we
uh,
put the links up for sure.
But it was a lot of, there was a few good rappers and then a lot of okay yes men at the project. And I don't mean to put anyone down, but you know, they're just people who need to work on their craft more, but don't realize it because everyone's just saying, oh man, that was so dope. Oh man, you're so good. And you know, they're doing monosyllabic rhymes and, you know, just all saying the same topics, you know, all lyrical, spiritual miracles kind of thing.
Is that why no one's famous from Vancouver?
That's exactly why. The majority of Vancouver rappers are the lyrical, spiritual miracle rappers.
What is that lyrical spiritual
They
miracle?
all use it in one of their tracks.
Oh, you mean rhyming those words?
That's
Spiritual,
lyrical,
miracle.
yeah.
And what's the other one?
Lyrical, spiritual, lyrical miracle.
Whoa.
Bar is low, bro.
Really? That's a low that's a low
What?
one.
Well,
thing
because
is-
everyone does it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, when it was done once, it was dope.
What if you
Whoever
use,
did it the first time was like, "Oh shit, I nailed it,"
Yeah.
and then everybody else.
what if you use like the word imperial in there?
Well,
instead?
then that's fine, but just avoid
still-
using those 3 words. If you use those 3
Yeah.
words in conjunction, you are not. I'm sorry, you're not going to get me filming
Dude,
a music video for you.
why are there no famous rappers coming out of Vancouver after 35 years of a rap?
Well, we've got Sunreal. You know,
We got Junk.
we got Junk.
Shout out Junk.
We got
Yes,
Mercules.
Junk,
you
yes,
know.
Mercury's. But I mean the scene. I
Yeah,
don't mean
relative.
individual
We have
people.
a lot of rappers in Vancouver, and proportionally, we're not represented as well. That is true
What is the problem? What's the disconnect?
because everyone's doing the same thing.
Oh,
You know, I've worked with hundreds, like literally hundreds of rappers at this point, probably 200-300.
Damn.
You know, heard a lot of them. There's maybe, I don't know, a couple dozen that I like. And of that couple dozen, only 5 or 6 of them really have what it takes to make it. And you know, you can
Do
be,
you think that's the business part of it, the drive part of it?
it's a mix. There's the drive. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of rappers. You know, there's a couple rappers, I'm not gonna name names, that I think are dope as hell. Like they are so good, but they lack all common sense and business sense, and they just don't. You know, unless they have a manager funding them, and no manager's gonna do that when rappers are dime a dozen.
Right.
Unless they have someone dedicated to making them succeed, they're not gonna succeed because they don't show up. They don't. You know, they don't time themselves. They don't manage their own business.
yeah.
And you know that sucks,
Yeah.
but it's a fact of life at this point. And Vancouver just has so many rappers that sound the same.
So shout out to
There's a lot of
anybody
that.
who wants to be different. Go
Yeah,
out there and be
well, it's
original.
like that's the thing. And again, like, you know, what I love about J-Rez is he actually doesn't sound that different. He's a classic old head boom bap kind of hip hop style, but as a young person and with the energy that he brings, it sounds different.
Yeah.
A rapper that's really blowing up in Vancouver right now, Crescent. Don't know if you've heard. It's got a couple tracks that have like 1 million plays or whatever.
Damn.
He's relatively okay. He's verified on Instagram. That's what I kind of see as a threshold, you know? He's got a couple tracks that really stand out, and I think that's why he's kind of a step above the rest of Vancouver at this
Right.
point. Like, I think he's kind of the next up in Vancouver because, like, he combines this, like, he has like good flow, good lyrics, but then he combines a lot of modern beats and the really quick kind of 2.5 minute tracks that keep those with ADHD kind of
the new format for music.
Yeah, exactly. The 50 Cent format. He was really the one who kind of started it, I'd say.
50 short songs.
Yeah. But yeah.
Do you think that's necessary?
What?
To have the short tracks?
I'd say the perfect track is a song that feels too short.
Right.
So it's the
So
safe
it's got to be
bet.
that dope.
It's the safe bet is to have a short track because if it sucks, it's over quickly and people will listen to your other music. Like if you make a shitty song that's 6 minutes long, you're going to bore people.
Right.
They're not going to tune into song number 2.
Yeah.
You make a shitty song that's 2 minutes long, it's like, okay, well, there's only 2 minutes of my life wasted. I can waste another 2 minutes, do the next track, and hopefully that's good.
Song.
And then if that song ends up being amazing, then everyone's like, damn, I wish that song was longer. We need a remix. Play it again. You get that replay value. Exactly.
Interesting.
So it's the safe way of doing business. Now, ideally, if you are like a really good rapper, and again, like these are the professional top tier, like Kendrick Lamar kind of rappers, you make a 3 to 5 minute track and it's dope. It's great front to back.
It's epic.
Right.
And, people listen to your whole album, but that's the best of the best. But when you're starting off, yeah, I understand the 2 to 3 minute kind of format.
Seems like you need to, like in today's game, you need to really leave the ego at the door and consider your listener when you're choosing on how you're going to present what it is you do.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the answer, is that you want to now, okay, what are people really liking?
That kind of hurts though.
Yeah, but you got to think of mentality of people, because you don't have to be like everyone else, but you got to know what the mentality of the customer is in anything, and even
the customer's looking for something new, and you have to consider, again, we've mentioned this already. Hip hop is the #1 genre in the world, which means everyone's heard it.
Yeah,
everyone knows what it sounds like. You have to deliver a new product now.
Every kind of hood rat shit has been done. Every
exactly.
sort of
you need to deliver something new.
Delivered.
You need to bring something to the table that people haven't heard before. But I would say, and again, like the rappers that are making it nowadays, like not your average Lil Pumps or whatever, like the ones that are actually making it big, they're the ones that are able to deliver a new sound while still keeping it sounding familiar.
Yeah, like the Freddie Gibbs and Griselda.
Exactly.
Joey Badass.
And you know what? You might not like Drake or you might love him, but one thing he's really good at is taking tracks that sound familiar.
His whole fucking catalog sounds the
people.
same.
Yeah, but he makes them popular. Like he takes something that you're like, oh, it's catchy, but it's probably because you've heard it before.
He's a master.
Yeah, but he's really good
really
at that. Yeah.
He is really
fucking
good.
hitmaker, man.
Yeah, he's a brand, and he sticks to his brand, and it works for him.
He's a fucking industry.
And everybody else copies him, so
that's the problem is everyone copies him. And
fucking
then
copy Drake. Fuck that shit.
he becomes the godfather of his shitty style.
He really is. He really is, man. I think he's got multiple records on billboards for albums that just never leave the fucking charts.
Yeah, right.
It's annoying as shit.
But it is, that's the industry, and I think that's the key to it. You got to decide, like, are you in it for, what are you in it for? Like, are you really the true craftsman? Like, you're going to go in there and forge a KRS-One career and get hell of respect, but never really reach that upper echelon of hip hop.
Okay, and if that happens, I'm cool with that. For me, the pen game is way more valuable than anything else.
Yeah.
For me,
That's fair.
my idea of putting
That's
pen
fair.
to paper.
You got to
is
know what you're going into anything.
Yeah, I want to be
Why
the
you
fucking
do anything.
dopest with the pen and do things with words that haven't been done before.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's not a way to be commercially successful.
No, I mean, like I watched you guys one with Vicious on here, and like the whole hazmat crew, they're very much that mentality too.
Yeah.
Like you go to a hazmat show. I love repping hazmat,
They're
but
wild.
they're never going to make it really big.
Yeah.
But they've got the penmanship, they've got the class. They show up and they give a show.
Yeah.
It's a show to a dozen people,
Yeah.
but hey, they're giving the show.
Yeah.
You're going all out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's weird. I wonder if it's like someone needs to pave the way in the city, and then everybody was like, "That's the way,"
Well, local radio's got to help.
Local radio should help.
Well, people don't listen to local radio, so people have to listen to local radio too, and we have to find a way for that to happen.
Like even these smaller market radio stations at 95.3, The Beat, I say smaller market in Vancouver, but they are the market.
Yeah.
If they played local hip hop,
they
open
that
up
would
a
be
massive audience.
game-changing. Oh my god, yeah.
How do you affect that change?
Yeah.
Because these DJs are fucking so small-minded.
95.3 is owned by Virgin, like a multinational. Like
Right.
all these are owned by multinational
Yeah.
corporations that really don't give a shit.
The programming
about
is just a
local.
button.
Tight spots.
They have the same programming across Canada because
Yeah.
they just have to adhere to the CRTCs, like the Canadian national
Right.
standards.
Right.
They don't care about local.
So someone's gonna have
programming.
some balls and say, "Fuck this! I'm gonna take an hour out of this 24-hour garbage cycle
Oh, they'd
and
be
play
fired.
local
or
hip-hop."
not even take an hour. Just mix it in.
Mm.
You know, you're playing some Taylor Swift, you're playing some Elite, right?
Yeah.
Next song, you
Yeah.
know, and then you're going to Drake and
Well, at least you give local people an opportunity to be heard.
yeah.
At least you let the fans make the decision. And if
Yeah.
the fans don't like it, then they won't listen.
Yep.
Right? Simple.
And it would also bring new things to the radio. Like people don't listen to the radio anymore because it's just the same songs
Fucking brain drain.
that you hear all the time.
I think also on like the college stations, they need to have bigger personalities because the college stations seem to really stay true to hip hop roots.
They make artists.
They make artists, right?
Yeah.
And if they had some good personalities on,
I
them,
mean,
for the-
Nardwar's on the UBC radio show.
Yeah.
Nardwar's dope.
Yeah.
if he's
Fucking
on-
legend.
But
that
I
guy.
don't think I don't think his radio show really gets the listeners.
Which is so weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really.
He is like a super audiophile.
Yeah, he is, and I mean, yeah, he's great. We all grew up with him. I grew up with Nardwar, like being on the thing, right? And do, right?
Yeah.
Dude.
But I mean, it's like remember growing up and seeing your dad's comedians of the day.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
He's getting old.
But you know what makes him different though? The reaction he gets from artists.
Yeah.
Because artists are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How'd you know that shit?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's his shtick. That's what
and
keep him.
he's done it
keep
to
going.
like tastemakers, like dudes like Pharrell are like, what? That's the greatest interview ever.
Yeah.
When someone like that says it to you, that's pretty fucking wild, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So we like to do these 3 questions.
Okay.
Sorry, top 3.
Okay.
And I think you're gonna have a difficult time. Actually, maybe you have a difficult time.
Oh boy.
Um,
Okay. Let's do it.
When you move on to the afterlife,
Oh,
whatever,
boy.
whatever that is for you,
Whatever.
you
it
get to
is.
take 3 artists' entire catalog with you. Which 3 artists do you take?
Oh man, you're gonna want a big artist with big catalogs.
Yeah.
Well, no, you
so-
got just so you don't have to listen to the same songs forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
I would. Okay, well, my favorite hip hop group of all time is Mayday. Absolutely, I think Murs Day is probably my favorite album of all time.
Wow.
So I would choose Mayday just to get the Murs Day album.
Wow.
I just think that's I couldn't go to heaven without Murs Day, without Murs Day playing. You know. So that'd be number 1.
Wow.
Number 2. Now we got hip hop, so I'd need to choose another genre. I feel,
Mhm.
and I think I would go with Gorillaz because they have such a great diversity. They've really evolved with the times. They produce hip hop. They produce top 40 jazz. There's all sorts of things that
over.
come from Gorillaz.
Yeah.
So Gorillaz would be number 2. And then number 3, like, should I go back to hip hop? Is the question? Is like, because
It's your eternity.
this is that's the thing. It's my eternity. Because now this is a tough one because either Kendrick or you know what? No, I think I need to go electronic. I think I'm gonna go with Goldfish. They're
Whoa.
jazz electronica of South Africa.
Wow.
And they do some really they have tracks that have really good replay value. So I think I'd have to go with them just for that because it's eternity.
You need it.
You need it. Yeah.
Wow. 3 choices that we haven't heard before.
Not even one of them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I don't know any of his choices.
You know Gorillaz.
Yes, I know the girl.
Well, yeah, there you go.
DJ, you know.
Something.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling bad. Watching people dance to it. They're like,
Oh yeah, you can't dance to
well,
Gorillaz.
people request it, I play it.
Yeah, you can't dance to Gorillaz.
I
no.
was one of those DJs that's like, you make a request and you're like, hey man, can you play this? And I look at you and I'm like, oh, you poor fucker. I can't play that fucking song with all these people here. I'll die. I'm like, oh, you poor shit. I'll play that song for you. I don't give a fuck about these people. So let me play that for you. Right? And I'll play it and everyone will be dancing, just enjoy it. And then that song comes on. You know, they're like, they would dance to it, but it would be very floating, like in a cartoon. You know
Oh,
what
yeah,
I mean?
it,
When
like,
people
you
are just
can't-
kinda-
And then when if you play all the way till when Dell drops his verse, no one can dance to that.
No.
You listen to that, you're just like, that's one of those tracks you just kind of stop and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
Listen to this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel good.
And your follow-up?
My follow-up question.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I have a feeling we're going to get an interesting answer here.
No. It's a very simple question that we like to ask everyone at the end of the interviews because it's really just such a profound question. It entails some deep thought. within 10 seconds or 20 seconds of the question. And it's a simple question of what happens when you die.
Oh wow, you hyped that up a lot more than I thought. Okay.
I just try to make you nervous.
Okay, well this is a long answer.
Oh, great.
Well, not too long.
Do we need to change the tape?
Yeah, we might.
Can you imagine change the tape? Oh, jeez.
Is your name? Forget it.
I think you hang around for a little bit, first of all.
Like, what do you mean you?
Like your soul.
Okay, so the soul that's inside of you.
Yeah, I think that is actually heaven or hell. Is that moment when before you go to the true afterlife, when you're still on earth. Because during that time, I think once you die, time no longer matters, right? Mm-hmm. So you transcend space and time. And now the idea is when time doesn't matter, you're reliving your whole life. And now you get to see all the good or bad that you've done in your life. And that's your heaven or hell. And it's based on the life you lived. You get to relive it, but now without your body or brain kind of holding you to it. It's just your pure soul watching your life as you lived it and the consequences of your life.
Awesome.
And
I would love to watch my life.
You think that until you do it, though.
Oh,
you never know.
It'll hurt. Like,
Who knows? I don't know what your life.
I
I don't know your life,
It's
but
very, very traumatizing.
so yeah, then I'd maybe.
Be a fun movie.
Oh yeah, I would love to watch it.
And then after this period of time,
But I think like this
so
is
you're saying is that inside of you, there is this.
the essence of you.
There's the essence of you, like a
Yeah.
cloud or something.
Yeah.
And like goes as like a cloud, maybe, or
Doesn't have a form,
it's just whatever,
Energy.
and it
Yeah.
comes out when you die.
and now it has to process. It's basically your soul processing the change of dimensions because we live in this four-dimensional world.
Yeah.
Space and time
Yeah,
intersect, and I think there's who knows how many dimensions are out there beyond the one we live in.
Yeah,
But if your soul exists,
yeah.
it would transcend that. But it would take time. It's a process because you've lived in this dimension for so long
physical
that
dimension.
You
you're
just can't imagine the other.
yeah.
thing,
So
right?
your soul takes some time to adjust. And now I think this is where the points where you have these weird supernatural kind of shit going on, like hauntings. Because in this moment, you could technically choose to haunt
Yeah.
or be around or accidentally get stuck. I think that's
Scared to
entirely
accept
possible.
Your death. kind of
Exactly.
thing, not
I think
move
that's
on.
entirely possible. And I think that's where some of the supernatural kind of comes into play. But once that's done, if you're able to move on and transcend dimensions, then you're just this kind of dimensionless being, which is the only way I can fathom eternity. Because you have to consider, if heaven exists, heaven is hell. Because I don't care how perfect heaven is, if you're there for an eternity, it's hell now. Because you're going to run out of things to do.
Yeah, no shit.
Heaven cannot possibly exist and actually be heaven.
Do you think that's just because of we're living within space time?
Exactly. So I think we have to
space-time?
transcend dimensions to even have any ability to understand
Conceptualize it.
and be in eternity.
Because it feels really overwhelming when you think.
Like eternity
Oh,
is
eternity.
eternity.
It's pretty overwhelming to think that that's never going to stop.
Yeah, but it never has.
Exactly. So that's the point, is the only way for a being to exist in eternity
We're already dealing with it.
Bars.
is to transcend space-time.
Bars.
Yeah.
So you believe in the multiverse then?
Multiverse.
I don't know if it's multiverse. No.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if I'd call it a multiverse. I'd just say dimensions of
Do you think this applies to
exist
everybody
outside
that
of this,
dies?
What, that some people don't have souls?
Well, do they have a perfect transcending rate?
No. Oh, I don't think so.
Right?
I think it's based on, there's the nature of you. Your nature could be someone that challenges these,
And
like-
so is that where the soldier's soul to the devil comes in? Is that maybe some people have given themselves to Satan or whatever, and they
I don't believe in
like child
Satan, but-
killers and stuff, like soulless. Do you think they're soulless, or what happens
No,
to their
I think
soul?
that's now they're going through hell, because I do think, like, for example, a lot like killers are just sociopaths who lack that
Sociopaths, yeah.
brain, like their brain is screwing them
yeah,
up.
they're born that way.
And now they're without that brain holding them back, and they're going to have to relive a lot of that suffering.
Ooh,
Wow. Intense.
that's pretty intense, actually.
Yeah,
And that's, I gotta say, that's one of the most well thought out answers I've heard. You put some thought into
I've
this.
put some thought into this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Intense.
So you don't believe that when you die, you see this light,
No.
and then when the light comes to clear, it's you coming out of your mother's vagina in the hospital room, and those are the lights of the room. So when
and
you die,
just keep reliving your
you
life.
just keep recycling.
No.
Worst answer ever.
Someone said that here, right?
Yes, that was one of, you know who you are. That was the worst answer ever.
And Mike uses it as an example.
I was just wondering, because I think it's the most classic answer, that you just come out of a vagina. Every time you're born, you die, you come out of a vagina. So it makes, it's amazing.
really
It's a
bad
movie. It's a great movie starring Matt Damon and, or
Danny DeVito.
Any other kind of classic schlumpy white dude, right?
So let people know where they can find this upcoming project of yours. How do they get a hold of you?
House on Fire on SoundCloud, Spotify, Facebook,
And it's
House on
Noble.
Fire.
House on Fire.
Noble, right? Noble's rapper.
So it's produced. A lot of it's produced by either Cluelet or Tabs, the two producers.
Damn.
Noble, or MC Save the Whales, as he's also known as, raps on a lot of it.
MC Save the Whales?
That's his name.
Well, I think we just shortened it to Noble for the album.
Yeah.
The J-Rez raps on a lot of it. I think those are probably the two most prolific on. And then, there's a few other that go on to like one or two songs here or there.
Do you know their real names?
MC Save the Whales is Noble.
No, but do you know their real names? Their
Their
birth
Well,
Government- government
Jarek,
names?
J-Rez is Jarek
Yeah.
Reyes.
Oh, can we say that? I don't think
Jarek.
That's pretty
Jarek
cool.
Oh, you
Reyes.
can say names, right?
Yeah.
Jarek, his name is?
Yeah,
Oh, and his rap name is...
J-Rez.
Oh, see, that's
And then
pretty
there's Jason Eastwood. You guys
cool.
know
He's
Jason.
Jason Eastwood?
No. There's also a guy named Jason Eastwood.
Is that his rap name?
No,
Dude, that'd so be my rap. Jason Eastwood, what are you fucking doing?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
but he's
legal
a
name.
really dope rapper.
Jason Eastwood
and I'm
would
just
be my
kinda
rap
blanking
name.
on his name right now. What his? Let me just look it up. Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Sorry, Jason.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Keep Jason Eastwood as your rap name.
Speech is beyond.
No!
Yeah.
Jason Eastwood is the fucking name.
You should have him on this podcast. Actually, he's a pretty.
If he
he's an
comes
out
on
there
here, I'm going to
thinker.
convince him to use his own name.
Yeah,
Jason Eastwood.
Shout out Jason Eastwood
Yeah,
if you're
he's
watching.
a-
Go
I know I have
ahead.
you- I know I have you on social media.
Make
so.
my day.
he's on a couple of the tracks, and I love his style.
Dope.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
And Rapid Fire's coming out again?
Yeah, we're gonna start doing the ciphers. We have one in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been waiting till there was a few more in the bank, and now that COVID's kind of ending, we can start filming them again.
Mm-hmm.
I also found out, like, I live in North Van, and all the North Vancouver libraries have free recording studios.
Oh,
Really?
shit.
Do they really?
Yeah,
That's dope.
No shit.
yeah. So we're gonna start just filming in the library.
That's awesome.
So you can do the recording there and the filming there.
Everything there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
North
shout out
Van
to North Van.
libraries.
Yeah.
North Fan stepping up.
And on all the social
Well,
media.
the downtown Vancouver, the big circular one, has recording studios.
Wow, crazy.
Oh.
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Never go there.
Exactly. People don't go to the library to
Just
record
go there and
music.
spit some mad angry bars. They're like, shh.
They have some like top quality equipment and everything.
You have to bring your own engineer and stuff.
You have to bring your own person, yeah. But they have the equipment.
That's dope.
So yeah, we're just gonna start
Just
going.
rolling in with a posse into the.
Not a
like,
bad idea,
just-
yo. Just get someone with a good ear
I'd like
to
to
come and do
film
the
that.
engineering of the session and bang it out.
Yeah, we're gonna film it.
That's,
That's
dope.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
roll
we'll start.
through hard.
We'll start doing those soon again.
But you're not video man for hire.
No, I don't. No,
You just do it because you love it and you're only going to do it
Love
that
of the
way.
game.
exactly.
That's
And
the way to
and
do
you
it.
know,
Passion.
when we want a really good cipher, was Jordan there for yours? Jordan Humphreys.
No.
Oh, okay. He probably couldn't make it. We
Yeah.
tried. We always like whenever I do a rapid fire cipher, I try and pay Jordan, bring him in
Yeah,
because
he's
just
fantastic.
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
But when he can't make it, I'll just do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but
He's
love
definitely one of the
support.
best at the video game for sure.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate
So
to
it's
be in a
like if
few of
someone's
his.
actually ever approaches me and asks for a professional music video, I tell them, go to Jordan. Open aperture. Yeah.
Open aperture photography. Shout
Yeah.
out to Jordan. Yeah.
Shout out
Dope.
Jordan.
Dope. Well, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, that's really
Thank you
nice
for
to meet
having
you.
me.
Great
Thank
conversation,
you.
man.
Vote
It was
NDP.
very,
Vote
very-
MDP in the next election. I'm
This
going to
has
vote
been the
NDP.
most partisan podcast episode
Yes.
ever.
Because we're all NDP voters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I am. I don't know.
Well, I'm
You will be.
about to perform my own style of prison sex on the voting
Hey,
industry.
we come full circle.
Right? I'm about to go Leroy Brown on
Over
the
the top.
election day, whenever
Over the
that
top.
is. Is that coming up soon?
It's unknown. It's probably going to be in October.
All right. Well, October, I'll be there. No. Can I do it virtually? Do I have to actually show up?
It might be mail-in. You might be able to mail in.
Oh, yeah.
High Freeze Podcast. ACDJ.
Yeah,
Eli
I-
Mallin. ALITE. Peace,
Yeah,
y'all.
thanks. Thanks, buddy.